Welcome to the Independent Characters episode 204. This is Carl.
This is Jody. There it is.
And there's Justin.
This is Justin.
That's Crystal.
Yeah.
I got
month.
the three J's with me. The ones I always screw up their names.
I didn't make name tags for this show.
Yeah, thank God. Yeah, if you guys had changed your names on the thing, I'd be really in trouble. So you may notice a difference in sound quality. Obviously, everybody else is stuck indoors dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. We are no different here. In fact, California's kind of leading the way. Just saying. I think we're being pretty responsible about it. But I want to thank you guys for joining us. We got everybody recording from their home. And we've even pivoted on the show a little bit here. So originally this episode was going to be about rare 40K lore items. But we decided to change it up here because we really are having a difficult time scheduling, especially around some of us are working, some of us are not, but we have other obligations, et cetera, et cetera. And so my work's been busier than ever because I'm responsible for, among other things, all of IT at my company, and making sure everybody can work from home for 4,000 people is a bit of a nightmare. So,
if anything, you've gotten busier, I imagine.
Oh, totally. Yeah, totally. Like
especially with that new promotion. Hey,
yes.
Congratulations, buddy.
Thank you. It is. It was a surprise to me too. So, yeah, VP of IT and a bunch of other stuff, and it is.
It's awesome, dude.
Yeah, I'm going to be able to buy more 40K stuff.
Hey, there you go.
I have been busier working at home than ever in the office. So anyway, enough of that.
Similar here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. As a teacher too, it's been real rough.
It's fully redesign all of your curriculum on the fly right now has been a treat, but the kids have been super cool about it. And it's just more learning. That's my business. So more learning's good, I guess.
All right. So our sponsor of the show is none other than Dan Blount, who is one of our Patreon subscribers. Thank you, Dan, for all your support. We super appreciate it. I also recognize that this show is significantly delayed. And again, those are kind of the reasons it's delayed. Same reasons for all that. So, but we have a few ideas that we can put out a few shows relatively quickly here. So I think we'll get caught up in no time. That being said, why don't we just go ahead and launch right into Elite Choice? And I'll go last. Jody, why don't you go first?
All right. I wanted to shout out Jason Turner and his group on Instagram. They're doing a Badab War paint up. And he didn't just take a faction from Badab War. He took one of the really retro Rogue Trader era paint schemes and did a Salamanders alternate camo where the Salamanders are actually in yellow and black.
Yeah.
And then he even went with kind of a goblin green base theme, which looks super dope. It was a super successful paint job. It's a great look. And for a great scenario and campaign that, fingers crossed that when these guys are on the other side of the shelter in place, that they can all get these armies together in one spot and let us take a peek at them. But the one-off model, it's a really unique camo scheme. It's a really unique color scheme, and just, spoke to both simultaneously, my modern love of, I actually really like Primaris Marines, the aesthetic of them.
Yeah.
And it was like something super Rogue Trader retro, which I've been feeling, and I think Justin's been feeling a little itch towards maybe some of our old grognard roots about dusting off an old model ourselves. So anyway,
Sure.
Jason Turner killed it.
There has been kind of this theme going on where people have been taking older models, giving them new schemes, rescuing models from eBay, that kind of thing. So I find it pretty cool.
I just recently joined that Old Hammer Facebook page.
Yeah.
I've been feeling the need to dust off some lead, and in hobby hangouts, as we'll go into, that's been a big topic of discussion, and there's going to be some contests coming up.
Nice.
through various things. So
nice. All right. Justin, let's go to your Elite Choice.
Yeah, so I went for something, sorry to kind of bring a topic up that's kind of the times, but rather fitting.
It won't be the last time.
I know. So Mr. Ted Lidgard is kind of going through some tough times right now, as he is separated and has been separated for the last month from his girlfriend. And they've found a way through, thank God for the internet, because they've been doing like basically FaceTime hobby hangouts. And he'll be sitting there painting Space Marines, and she'll be sitting there working on her artwork. And they can sit there and still, see each other. Like, it's not the same as touching each other and hugging each other and kissing each other, but at least you can kind of experience each other and share some time together.
Yeah.
And that's something that really spoke to me, because I've been doing a lot of those kind of digital hangouts with people lately. And although it's not the same, it helps big time.
Yeah, I want to chime in on that one real quick, that I was feeling pretty overwhelmed by this whole shelter in place. Like, it was psychologically starting to take a toll on me of just feeling bummed out and not feeling good, as I can only imagine, Ted's feeling with his girlfriend. And I can't believe how much just some of the Santa Cruz guys here, we've been doing a few hangouts, not a lot of them, but just a handful, but it was an amazing help. So, I totally resonated with that post as well, Justin, that like it spoke to something that had helped me a lot. So, if folks are out there listening to this and you're feeling a little isolated, reach out to a couple of your friends, even if it's just via phone, if you don't have the video set up to do it. We don't actually, the Santa Cruz guys, we don't record what we're painting. It's Brian doesn't even have his video on, for crying out loud, when he does it most of the time, but it's just being able to chat with each other while you're doing a thing you enjoy. It's so enriching. And I can only imagine how cool that's got to be for Ted and his girlfriend to make the most of it.
I got to tell you, like, when I was in the Army, I was in from 1988 to 1992, and email wasn't even a thing. Like, not really. And so I was thinking about the Zooms we've been doing and the discussions we've been having, on video chat and that kind of thing. And I just was like, man, if I were in the military with this type of connectivity and ability to talk, like, I would have felt a lot less lonely than I did when I was there initially. I mean, it was very different. If you wanted to hear from somebody, you had to place a pretty expensive call. Josh, what have you been working on?
Well, I'm going to talk about Bill Morlock first.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant.
I know we mentioned Bill and his project that he's working on a couple times in the last few episodes, but this Slaaneshi Demon Prince that he put out just a couple of weeks ago just did an absolutely fantastic job. It's a beautiful conversion. He's got some cool lens FX on a little video going on where they're just a beautiful execution, and it's very apparent what it is and just fantastically done. So I just wanted to call it out and give it the props it deserves.
It's beautifully done.
That model is so cool.
Yeah.
That model is so cool. Like, he did such a great job, and it was cool to see it kind of 40K'd and changed up a bit. Yeah, I had to go look at that one because I missed that one somehow, but I had to go search it, and it's great job, dude. Really good.
Yeah, well, I picked the one that shall not be named.
Broke the rule, man.
I did break the rule, but I broke the rule because a new element has been brought into the game. I chose Jeremy Woods because he's opened a YouTube channel to show people how he puts together everything from true scaling Marines to how he goes about planning for large terrain projects or dioramas and that kind of thing. And this is a guy that, I mean, we love Jeremy. I mean, he's a fantastic artist and has an art degree and, went to school for that. And it shows in every piece of work he does. I couldn't let this go without mentioning that he had launched a YouTube channel. You can find it. It's linked everywhere in our Facebook group, so you can find it there. But I'll put a link in the show notes to it as well. So good luck on the YouTube channel, Jeremy. Hope you're having a great time with it.
Yeah, that was cool to see. And like, to his point too, it's so much easier sometimes to show things in video format than it is to sit there and just, explain things through text and pictures. So I think that'll help him out big time.
Absolutely.
For sure. All right. Well, on that note, let's take a short break, and we're going to come right back to start launching into Hobby Progress.
Matt here to welcome you into 2020 and tell you about an amazing new offer from Table War. All returning customers receive an extra 10% off Table Wars US web store. Need a tower case? 10% off. Need a new fat mat? 10% off. Need a macro mat, geomat, or just some accessories? All 10% off. This offer starts January 1st and will continue on throughout 2020. No coupon required. Just ensure you have an account and this discount is automatic. This is our way of saying thank you to all of our loyal customers. So visit us today at tablewar.com. Table War! Table War is a registered trademark of Table War Designs, Inc., all rights reserved.
All right, and we're back, and now we're going to kick it off as usual with a bit of hobby progress. Oh, boy. I think Justin has to go first. Oh, maybe Josh. Ooh, it's tough.
I don't know. I've got a lot of hobby progress, but it's not very 40K related.
Well, yeah, but that's okay. Let's talk a little bit about it because I've seen you working on this major project, and I want to hear a little bit about it here. If you're okay talking about it here and not wasting content for Lords and Heroes.
No, I'm totally good talking
then
about
Justin,
it.
Why don't we have you go first?
All right, I guess we'll start out with the main thing I've been working on, which has been the Deepkin army that's been vexing me since they've came out. You know, I've put a little work into them, built them, and got them kind of tabletop, and they sat there kind of staring at me from my table.
Now, you had originally started them with a color shifting paint, right?
The eels. Yeah, just the eels. I had like 12 of the eels that I experimented with those on.
But you moved away from that? Is that?
Yeah, I kind of moved away from it. They looked okay, but I think that I found a Google image, as one does, that made me go, that kind of looks better. I like the way that looks. So the thing is, like, as I've kind of like progressed a little, I like to control where the light and shadow goes on my models, and you're basically painting with metallics when you're painting with color shift. So kind of fell out of love with them. I'm still going to keep them because I think they still have a project like Alpha Legion or something that, or I'll sell them. I don't know.
Even there, the thing I feel about those color shift paints, because I really liked them at first too. I was very excited about the potential for them, but I think the problem with them is you can't control how the model looks from a certain angle. Like, it's up to what the light and the, you know what I'm saying?
Totally light dependent.
Yeah. I mean, I could see like you could do maybe like little metallic highlights on them, and then maybe do some. But you're gonna mess with something along the way. They're designed just to like gloss black, and you spray those things in several coats, and you get what you get.
Yeah.
You know. So I ended up like repainting over those, and I went for more of like a striped effect.
Sure.
And kind of like a blue fade out to the ends of the tails. It fades out to almost white.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I've been ocean deep in that project since we all got locked down. And
dude, that force is looking phenomenal.
So good. You're gonna come out of this with a completely painted force.
Yeah. That's a good side project, a good side effect of the whole nonsense we've been dealing with. And back to the earlier kind of shout outs. I mean, the hobby hangouts have really helped with that, because there's been a lot of days where I was like, you get that anxiety and that kind of cabin fever, but it's a little nugget to look forward at the end of the day of like, hey, I can hang out with some other people and just kind of separate myself from this Jack Nicholson feeling I'm getting.
All right, what else have you been working on?
So yeah, a lot of Deepkin, and then I managed to actually go through and clean out my garage quite a bit, kind of a Pez
reset,
clearing the mechanism kind of a thing. I was able to clean out my cases out in my garage because I had a lot of stuff in there that just needed to come out, needed stuff that needed to go in. So I spent quite a bit of time just taking everything out, dusting off the shelves, and Windexing everything down, and kind of reorganizing my collections, and taking out a lot of things that could either go to eBay or things that need to just get out of there. I want to have my cases be, for the most part, stuff that's at least a decent tabletop.
Yeah.
So that took a bit of time, and me kind of looking at myself going, geez, you have way too many models.
Do you?
And then, do you ever really? And in preparation for kind of a thing we're doing with Lords and Heroes, I bought a bunch of the new Slanesh stuff, a bunch of the Hedonites, but it's all stuff that, of course, can be used in 40K. So I picked up that beautiful Celeste Demon Prince model, 3 of the Fiends, and of course the Harp Lady.
Yep.
And a bunch of other stuff, and I got it all built. I got it all zenithaled. So as soon as I finish the Deepkin, it's going to be like one shoulder's going, paint your Harlequins, And then the other shoulder is going to be like Hedonites. But I think I'm going to go to the Hedonites, because taking a little break from painting very detailed elves would be good. Really good.
Well-deserved break.
Yeah, well-deserved. And
you're,
other
you're
than that,
crushing it, man.
Yeah, I'm honestly, I've probably been averaging like at least 3 hours of painting an evening.
Wow.
3 to 4 hours at least. And then some of the days where we're just kind of, we had a bunch of rainy days here.
Yeah.
And it's like family's doing their thing and I'm just going to be over here and we're all in the same kind of common room. So guilt is low.
Yeah.
So I've been getting a lot done, man. And more than anything, it feels so good to be finishing that damn Deepkin army.
I'll bet. And think about it. I mean, it's going to be fun to play too. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then other than that, the last kind of 40K little tidbit I did, I kind of organized my Harlequins, kind of seeing where I'm at with them, kind of planning an attack on how I want to go about finishing that little battalion, and then put a couple hours into Ivrain, the cat lady.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's been fun to kind of see, because I got her ready for Adepticon like 2018, I think it was, and it's kind of fun to see like how I've progressed since then.
Sure.
And I'm going to change that.
Tremendous amount in 2 years with all the painting you've been doing. All right.
Yep. That's me. A lot.
Josh, let's talk you.
Yeah. So wouldn't be me without Adeptus Titanicus being mentioned here. So start off with that. I had eight Titans that were actually I had 10 Titans that were almost done. Like they were tabletop ready, but not complete. So I went and 8 of those. So it's two Reavers, 4 Warhounds, and 2 of the Nemesis Warbringers are completely 100% done, including oil wash, basing, the custom decals that I designed and had printed. So all 8 of those Titans was able to get completely finished, and I've been working on the remaining 2, which are my 2 Warlords. So I actually went back and added some stripes and some checkers to them because they were the first 2 Titans that I painted. So I didn't have some of those extra kind of characterful things to bring my Legio to life on the tabletop. So I've actually gone back and added some extra details. Everything is gloss varnished right now. Hopefully in the next couple nights, I'll be able to wrap those up with the transfers, custom decals, and then also doing the oil wash once those decals are done. And then the bases, of course, and that'll be all the actual Titans of my force will be completely finished, which is fantastic. And then I can move on to the Knights, they're at that same spot, just waiting for decals and oil wash. And then
they're pretty quick. They're pretty quick to paint up, though. The Knights go.
Yeah, and they're already painted. They only need decals and oil wash because all the actual base coats and everything are done. So those will go real quick.
Cool.
Then on the side, I've been doing just a couple of Blitz Bowl teams because it's been a good time to paint something a little bit different. And as we'll get into games played, I've been doing some tabletop simulator games, and that's been just kind of inspiring me to when we're out of this, get back to the actual tabletop. So
yeah.
That's me.
Well, speaking of Blitz Bowl, what have you been up to, Jody?
Yeah, speaking of.
Why would you assume I had anything to do with Blitz Bowl?
I saw some pictures.
Oh, that. Yeah, I actually broke out and finished off my Goblin team for Blitz Bowl. Funny enough, I think the most difficult team to paint for Blitz Bowl. Not only do they have 8 players as opposed to the usual 6, which it's 8 models, dude, come on, and they're small, but they're really detailed
8?
And they're really
wow.
small.
8? That's
insane.
It's crazy.
There's so many of them at 8.
You hear about the
anyway,
one
but the
model,
big accomplishment that actually more than getting the goblins done, and I was really happy with them. I did a red and white color scheme that was really, I wanted almost clown-like in its vibrancy, and I think I got there.
Yep.
They popped that contrast.
Yeah, it was a man. I tell you what, that Pro Acryl, I think it's called Pyrol Red. Their bright red for Pro Acryl is fantastic. If you are never satisfied with how bright your reds are, check that singular paint out. It is just popping.
Can you send me a link to that, Jody, so I can include that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll shoot that along. That's the Creature Caster paint line. I've
Cool.
been really enjoying those. I've been using those since.
And they're super inexpensive too.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Since
They're
last year's Adepticon.
$3.75, $4 a pot or something.
I bought the whole first wave set at once, and it was only, I mean, this is a lot, but it was only $80 for the entire first wave, which for however many paints that was a totally reasonable price. The one thing for me is a total win with those pro acrylic paints, the Creature Caster paints, to just pivot to that for a second. They're hyper matte. Like, they're even more matte than I'd say Reaper paints. And for me, this was always the turn off with P3 paints. And even with the Scale 75 paints, I wrestle with it a little bit. Those are a little bit more satin in their finish. And there's something about that just doesn't jive with the way I paint. Whereas the hyper matte finish paints, I really like. So I have nothing but good things to say about the Creature Caster line of paints.
But I found that anyway, AK Interactive paints to be really, really matte too, especially their black.
I haven't messed with those. I'll have to check those out.
And scale as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's
I found
the
scale ones to be a little satiny.
The fantasy color ones are I think they're a little bit more satin, but their standard game color I think are super matte.
Flat. Yeah, like I've seen.
That's interesting because I have the fantasy ones.
I've seen Austin.
They're brighter, but they are satin.
Yeah. I've seen Austin do his Ultramarines, and they look really matte.
Cool. Yeah, and I don't know why for a lot of people that doesn't phase them at all. For me, it's a massive. Like it messes with just the way I'm seeing everything. And
me too.
It's weird because I'm weird. But the big deal with the Goblins wasn't that the Goblins got done. It was that season 1 got finished. That was every single team, including the 2 expansions.
Dude, that was
came out
so awesome.
That is impressive.
That post you made of every single team.
That was a lot. I did a photo shoot just to get them all in one place in my phone, and then upload them over at the Blitzbowl fans page, and then I did like a mass battle scene that looked like kind of the old school Blood Bowl art.
Just a big mosh pit of orcs and gobos and dwarves and humans. Yeah.
All the guys, everybody gets to play. So anyway, that was the big painting thing. I actually painted up a small handful of role-playing figures, some from Claustrophobia 1643, which is a fantastic 2-player board game. If you are looking for a 2-player board game with a fantasy dark theme, Claustrophobia 1643, if you can find a copy of it, which is a big if, is fantastic. And it has great looking models. And then also some Zombicide Black Plague, because as I'll talk about in a minute, role-playing has been a thing lately. And then lastly, kind of like Justin mentioned a little bit ago, I did a deep clear the mechanism. I completely cleared my paint desk, full reset, washed out my wet palette, sorted my paints, did the full thing to the point where my wife and daughter walked into my usual painting area. They both wondered, they're like, "Are you okay? Is something wrong? Do you need help?" And I'm like, "No, I'm just in between projects. I'm just resetting." It's what?
It's a good thing to do once in a while. A very good thing to do.
It was time, and I just got to a point where all of the midway projects I'd been working on, they all got finished. So it was time to kind of reevaluate. And since then, actually, my attention has been pivoting back to 40K and really trying to figure out where I want to go hobby wise with which project. And I think I have some ideas, but I'm not ready to commit. Shock of no shocks. Carl, you're last. What do you got, man?
Well, pulling up the caboose on the whole progress train is Carl. My Chaos Knight is done except for transfers and the base. So transfers are coming up next. Really happy with the way it's come out. And yeah, I mean, it's a fairly large model for me to paint. So I haven't painted a lot of models that size, and it was pretty fun. I mean, we got to enjoy it. Got to use inks on it for, this is the first time I've moved to a model that size where I'm using inks. So really enjoyed the effects I got out of that, but overall very satisfied with the way it came out.
And you went for kind of a tradition, like a black and red kind of scheme on that, as I recall.
Yeah, a little bit of bone in there too. So
sweet. Hard to go wrong with that.
I didn't explore like a whole new, style or anything along those lines. Additionally, I've been reading Saturnine, which is the fourth in the Siege of Terra series by Dan Abnett. This one, and 550-page book, and I'm about halfway through it now. And I mean, that's about it. And then on the purchases side, I got the rest of my Sisters of Battle, so I have pretty much everything I need for Sisters of Battle at this point, sitting in my closet, where it's going to wait until I finish, a sizable Black Legion force. So, but that's been about it. I've gotten distracted with a video game, so I was distracted for a while, and that'll kill your hobby progress right there. So, yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, that's been it for me. We're going to do something a little different with games played, especially since we haven't really been able to sit down and play 40K or anything somewhat related to it. One of my issues with playing 40K, like we've been using some Tabletop Simulator for other stuff, and I know some people are using it for 40K. It just really doesn't appeal to me in the slightest. To me, 40K has a real tactile piece to it. Like I like to see the cool models on the table. I like to see the ones I painted or, in my case, purchased, and I like to see the terrain and all that. And in video game format, it's just like there's other experiences I can get in a video game format. To me, it just doesn't scratch that itch. But that's me personally. But speaking of Tabletop Simulator, played some Eldritch Horror on Tabletop Simulator, which is great for that. And if you're into board games and you're into Cthulhu, I think this is the best Cthulhu board game out there. It's a heavy investment in terms of time you're going to play, but it really, really appeals to me. The other thing I've been playing, I was playing with Doug before we all got locked down, was the Cthulhu Death May Die, which was a Kickstarter. That's the one that came with the giant Cthulhu model that I keep looking at, and I got an idea for how to paint him fairly quickly. Nice. And that model is actually used in a mission, like a final mission. So it's pretty cool. You're actually fighting him. He's part of the board. That
thing's bigger than the board.
Yeah, it's huge. It's great.
It is the board.
I've been playing a little Call of Cthulhu RPG. Yeah. So Josh and Jody joined me on that with Austin and Doug, and we're kicking off a scenario there. I think it's pretty fun. And then Dice Throne. If you haven't heard of Dice Throne, you can pick up packs of it from, they sell them in game stores and on Amazon, but it was a massive Kickstarter. And man, this is a really fun game. It's kind of a press your luck game where you're, 3 rolls of the dice and you're competing against each other. It's kind of a mix between, King of Tokyo and a card game and a fighting game. It's just super easy to learn, super fun to play. So that's been me in terms of games played. I'm going to leave off the video game stuff. Justin, what about you?
Nothing. I've been playing games in my sleep. A little Super Mario Brothers with the kid, on the Nintendo Switch.
Nice.
But that's about it. Yeah, no, I haven't played anything. I've been tempted. This is how old school I am, dude. I still have my PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
It's in a box with all my games, and I'm like, maybe just a little Call of Duty would be good right about now. But no.
I remember when I first met you and I first came over to your house, you were playing Call of Duty on your PlayStation 3. Well, the thing is, I bought a PlayStation 4 because I know the new one's coming out, and this one dropped in price, and I just wanted to play like the Uncharted series, which I always heard about, but I've had an Xbox, so I kind of ground through that.
No, my plan is to definitely finish up a couple Blitzball teams, and then corral the wife, get her drunk enough that she won't care. What am I playing? It's called Blitzball. Roll some dice.
Okay.
There you go.
And Shell and I are supposed to play a game of 40K, but we keep pushing it off. So
awesome.
Yeah. Josh, how about you?
Yeah, I've been back in a couple RPGs again. Right before quarantine hit, I actually jumped into a D&D group with my old high school friends.
Nice.
And every single one of us either lives in a different state or continent these days, so it's pretty neat that we're still able to get together over Roll20 to play that.
That is one advantage RPGs have to miniature gaming. Like you can play just over this.
Yeah. I mean, it's super easy to do, and it works great. And also got a little quarantine game going that Travis is running of the 20-sided realm fame.
He's a great DM too.
Fantastic. And it's a super fun group of guys getting that going on. And then Call of Cthulhu also. So RPGs have come back into my life in a big way, and it's been fantastic.
Nice.
It's a good way to pass the time and hang out with friends at the same time, and just kind of shoot the breeze and quick catch up with everybody and let the imagination run wild.
Right.
Nice.
Wife and I have been getting a couple board games in when we can. Not nearly enough, but here and there, just keep us sane and get some quality together time. And then the big thing for me is Tabletop Simulator. Actually built a Blitz Bowl mod for Tabletop Simulator.
How hard was that to do? Because I heard who you played? You and Jody?
No, it was all Josh.
No. Who played it with you recently? Because I think Jody was telling me he played it with you.
No, I haven't played it with him yet.
Austin?
Yeah, we're due for a game. I played with Matt and Travis quite a bit.
Okay.
And yeah, there's a decent community over on the Crush podcast that people are getting games going, and it wasn't super hard to build. It was just time consuming for scanning everything in and then doing all the Photoshop design work.
That is pretty awesome, though. Congratulations.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
I was working on it before everything hit, at least with the kind of started scanning things, primarily because it's like, it actually takes longer for me to drive to Jody's house round trip than it does to play a game of Blitz Bowl. So
True.
If we just want to get a quick evening game in, like, do this. And then we all got quarantined. So now, I shared it out with the community, and everybody's, happy to have it and taking advantage of that, which I'm super, super happy.
Well, I'll tell you, the work you did on the Necromunda cards for us for the campaign that started and has come to a screeching halt.
Yeah, God, I missed that.
What a
campaign.
lame way for a campaign to end.
Look,
campaigns always end, but gee,
if there's a reasonable
we're
way,
bringing it back.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that earlier.
Josh just wanted to get out of running it, so he just started the pandemic.
No, I was enjoying running it. It
was fun.
Yeah, it was good.
I did tell you my gang is basically destroyed.
Honestly, our last round of skirmish games, I had guys die, Jody had guys die, Matt had guys die, you had guys die.
Skirmish games. Doug did.
Die. Like,
yep.
Half the players in the group had some
over stupid skirmishes.
Yeah, all in skirmish games. It was like, okay. Yeah, so I do look forward to getting back to that. But for right now, it's just been Tabletop Simulator. Blitz Bowl is the only thing that I have played tabletop-wise, but I do have some plans for Adeptus Titanicus and Battlefleet Gothic with Brian Harvey and Loopy, because both those games I think will actually work pretty well for Tabletop Simulator. Especially Adeptus Titanicus, since it's already kind of terminal-based, like all that's happening, but you still get to make all those cool decisions, which for me is my favorite part of that game, is the decisions that you make, and it's less of the tactile moving a whole army worth of models.
I would agree.
Have 5 models, so
I would agree.
So it's good, and I'm looking forward to doing that.
I'm curious to hear how that goes. Really, really.
I think it'll go well, honestly. Yeah. And
all right.
You should jump on. We'll get a game of that.
Yeah. All right, Jody, how about you?
Pretty similar to Josh.
Yeah.
By the way, thanks, Josh. So role playing came back around, which was cool. I kind of very surprisingly, my 19-year-old daughter out of nowhere was like, I'd like to role play some. I did that when I was a kid, and it sounds fun. And I've been watching Critical Role, and I was like, well, I haven't run anything in a long time, but I've been watching all these like YouTube RPG OSR kind of old school stuff videos, and just been doing it as a fun like creative exercise of crafting some things. So sat down with my wife and daughter, and the 3 of us played a game, and I was like, we'll see how it goes. And both of them afterwards were like, so when are we doing that again? I was like,
that's fine.
I guess I'm going to start planning. So
winning.
I spent a bunch of time dusting off the old RPG skills and crafting up a scenario and a place and the whole thing, and that's been a lot of fun. Again, it's just, 1, it's the people in my house, and then 2, it just really ports well to a digital format, which unfortunately most of these games we love and talk about here, I can't imagine playing 40K on Tabletop Simulator.
Yeah.
However, I will say I am genuinely, like, on a almost emotional level touched that the high school club that Matt started at our high school, those guys, we have a Discord channel for them, and they've been active. And so help me, they're putting in the time to play 40K through Discord.
Oh, that's incredible.
Painting updates because it's inspiring them to paint. And so it's been super cool to keep in touch with those students that way about, what they're painting and what they're working on and their 40K games through Tabletop Simulator. But the majority of my play has in fact been Shock of Shocks Blitz Bowl through Josh's Tabletop Simulator.
That's awesome.
If folks are curious, I will do this very rare plug. For the Crush podcast, we do have a Discord channel.
Who are the hosts of that podcast?
That would be Matt and I.
Okay.
Sometimes. Josh was on once. We maybe I'm in jeopardy. I don't know.
It's just a bonus episode. You're safe.
But if you enjoy that game or you would like to check it out, you can jump over on the Crush Discord podcast or Discord chat. And we actually have a channel as part of our group to find games on. So you can find a game in a match with somebody. So if you're familiar with the game and you're looking to find somebody to play with, that's a pretty good spot.
That's awesome.
And Josh, I don't know that I've given you proper credit, but he did a phenomenal job with it. It is super enjoyable to play that game that way. It's not as enjoyable as the real thing, but in this time of,
that's amazing,
do what
though.
you got to do to get by.
Still away.
Congratulations,
It's
Josh,
the
man.
next best thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the right kind of game for it because
Yeah.
most of the time you're moving 6 pieces, you have 4 dice, and there's some cards to keep.
And you're
track
moving
of.
within squares, so it
Yep.
makes it.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's really works well. And Josh killed it. And Josh, when does the Crush exclusive set of rules get released to the world?
Ooh,
Oh, they're actually done. I just need to publish them.
Sweet, yeah.
I need to update 2 images on cards, and that's it.
awesome.
So,
Yeah, we
whenever
have a set of rules that we call our tournament rules. That is a modification of the game that we like to play. And Josh was cool enough to make that version as well because he's
awesome.
a heck of a guy.
That is incredible.
So cool.
So yeah, if you want to check that out, listeners, hit me up through the IC's page and I can get you the information. Maybe I'll just do a one-off generic post of like, here's the information. You can jump in and check it out for yourself.
You got any interesting games of Blitz Bowl scheduled, Jody?
Do you have any scheduled? I do,
With
actually.
anybody special?
Oh, what? Man, that was in confidence.
Oh, never mind. You can leave it. We'll leave it.
I thought it
Matt
already
and I are
happened.
Matt and I will be play testing a brand new team that James Hewitt, the designer of the game, is on our Discord and chimed in with suggestions about a way we could make this classic. The Underworld team is a classic Blood Bowl team that's always existed. It's a combination of Skaven and Goblins. And he was kind enough to chime in with a suggestion about where to start playtesting it and trying it out because there's existing rules for Skaven and Goblins. So Matt and I are planning on doing that, Carl.
Sorry, I didn't know it was. I thought this has already been discussed.
No, that's good.
And
You
NDA, man.
didn't have
NDA.
to talk about it.
No, I think it's awesome. I'm so excited for you guys. It's so great. It's so great.
It's been a lot of fun. It's a really small group, as you can imagine, with that game. But it's been a lot of fun and a great way to kill an hour here and there. And Josh, my God, are you and I overdue to do this thing?
Yeah, dude. Seriously, just give me a game in, and we'll call it even. All hard work done.
Nice.
Oh, and I will say two of the best games I've played of Blitz Bowl have been over Tabletop Simulator in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's a game. I think it's well suited for it. It's well
That's
suited.
I've only played 30 games. I'm not like Matt and Jody who've played probably in the hundreds level, but of my 30 games, like 2 of them having been the best games recently on Tabletop Simulator, I think is awesome that it can work in this quarantine time.
Cool. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and we're going to start launching into our Warrior Lodge segment here. I've got several questions set up for you guys that I'm very interested in hearing what you have to say. And then after the Warrior Lodge, I have a fairly lengthy interview with Kat and Caleb from CK Studios. But before we move on, I just want to talk real quick about the Table War charities. If you haven't taken a look, you can find the link in our show notes. You can go over to Table War Charities. There is a drawing going on where you can bid, you can buy tickets into the drawing on tons of different models that have been painted up by some of the best out there. And there's just beautiful work out there to look at. So I'll create a link in the show notes for you to go and see that. We are doing this work to support families that are having to work with their autistic children and the school, and we're helping get them advocates to work with them and help their kids out. And this is something that's, you've heard me talk about before. It's very near and dear to Todd's heart, as one of his children is autistic, and he has had to go through this process as well. So anyway, look in the show notes for links to that. It's a great cause, and I legitimately wish I could bid on some of these things, but being on the board there, I can't. But good God, there's some beautiful
there's
models.
been some great work from Wapple to Caleb to others. It's just really, really cool to see. Anytime you have people come together for a cause as noble as that, it's always going to be inspiring.
Dude, James Wapple's stuff. Like when I saw that, I was like, how did he? Oh God, I wish I could bid on that.
The master of light and shadow.
He really
If you're
is.
not watching his videos, he just I think yesterday uploaded a new video. The guy's prolific and they're fantastic.
Crazy good.
But such a nice guy.
No,
I've been on hobby hangouts with him, and he's so humble and chill, and like he'll talk your ear off, but that's all good because you just sit there and listen.
Well, I think the stuff Caleb did too just blew my mind. I mean, just.
Yep, and he's been doing a lot of hobby hangouts and stuff, and like mostly on Twitch. Twitch hangouts, I should say.
Yeah.
So yeah, check those out too, guys. I mean, Caleb's a talented Jedi master.
Did I mention he's painting Shell's kill team?
Nice.
He is painting her Night Lord's kill team that Shell and I assembled all the models for, and then shipped over to Caleb the other day. So yeah, and she wants it more of a, 'cause, you know, she likes purple. So instead of blue, she has like
he was working on that
purple to black. Yeah.
Wow.
That all makes sense. It's all coming together.
So she's very excited about that. All right. So we're going to take a break. We'll we'll be right back after this. All right, and we are back, and we're launching into the Warrior Lodge, which is actually quite easy for us to do in this format. So I actually really like this as much. Whew. Okay, so listen, I mean, some of these questions are, of course, going to refer to the current situation we're in, but let's start with question number one. So in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, Games Workshop has taken pretty extensive steps. The community team is working from home. They're delivering like come paint with us videos on a regular basis. They're updating the community page. They've asked some of us to write articles for the community page. They're doing reveals that they would have done at Adepticon, but they're doing those online. I guess my question here is, what do you think of the response they've offered to this unique situation? And is there anything they could do better? Is there anything they could do to even elevate that further, or ideas that you have? Who wants to go first with this? Josh. Let's have Josh go. I don't think we're in the same.
Everybody's pointing somewhere.
I don't think we're in the same location.
We're all in different order.
Yeah, just.
So I think it's pretty neat how they have come together to continue the show, the community show for us.
Yeah.
With not only the previews that they're doing, which has been 2, and there's the third one coming up this coming Saturday, I believe.
Yep.
They've also been doing some cool things like the Warhammer TV is free for everybody right now.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need to pay whatever the subscription cost is. It's just free for everybody while we're stuck in quarantine. So you can check out all the past content, but also all the live streams and things that they're doing like that.
Which, by the way, if you have an Amazon Prime account and you don't realize it, you can get a free Twitch account with that Amazon Prime.
One free.
You have to re-up it every month, but it still works.
Yeah.
And it's easy.
So even though they've made that free, are you still able to, because I know they changed, like when they were doing the releases, like the teaser videos, you couldn't chat, or you can't chat now unless you're subscribed.
They turned off the chat capability during the release previews because there were just so many people in there.
Yeah,
the chat was worthless.
Yeah, what was the point, right?
They had 40,000 people in the chat at one point. It was crazy.
It's fitting number.
Yep.
So it's been neat that they've been able to continue going with the releases and making content available. And there's been some cool community articles where they're showcasing community members' personal armies. Like I'm guessing they're just in their houses. I don't think it's photography that existed ahead of time. So
no, they are. Yeah.
They're just showing their collections that they have, and it's kind of a cool in-depth way. And they obviously can't run things on all cylinders like business as usual. So I think they're doing a great job of keeping content and community together, even though obviously nothing is normal right now. The one thing I'll say is, like, I think Adepticon was going to be a huge announcement. They specifically said it was going to be their biggest announcement ever.
Yeah.
And I was fairly certain it was going to be a 9th edition. This is coming, and that might be coming this weekend still, who knows. But I would say that the previews that have come out, I've just been a little disappointed in what is there, and maybe it's because they're just kind of stretching it out to fill in time and space rather than do the one big.
I think you hit on an interesting point. So first off, I think they're going to finish the Adepticon releases over the next 2 weeks. So I still, with you, believe firmly there's going to be a 9th edition announcement. Yeah. And I think that's going to happen not this weekend, but next weekend. That's my guess. I do not have any inside information on that. That's just pure. It makes sense. It's totally logical.
Oh, I didn't realize there was 2 more. So that's
good. There's 2 more. So, and I think the other thing was like when you go to those events and they're revealing this stuff, like they can do it in rapid succession, right? They can show you that, and then they judge the audience's reaction, and then they go on to the next thing, and they go through it fairly quickly. And they had set aside 2 hours for that. Now, online, it's a little cumbersome as they are switching people and, so it's taking up more time. So I think while it actually does stretch out over a period of time, and I'm with you, I was a little underwhelmed by the first and second one. I was like, there's things I like in there, but I wasn't totally blown away.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like cow elves?
Well, I actually thought they were cool.
Yep.
I think they're cool. I know Justin doesn't like them, but I think they're cool. I think the helmets on the elves are a little.
I would have settled for meerkat elves. I would have settled for tiger elves. Yes.
Listen,
a meerkat deity.
You didn't see it coming.
I think you'd see a. Oh, that was terrible. Oh, God. Just got it.
Still going to buy a lot of those models.
So anyway,
I'm just not going to. Yeah.
I think the point here is that, there's still 2 more releases to go. And I think all of these were supposed to be announced at Adepticon. So I still strongly suspect, not this weekend, but next weekend, you're going to see that announcement. I'm curious to see I'm still curious to see what they announce each week. I think it's cool.
Yeah. And, I thought it was cool that you had your, kind of response to it after the fact video for the first one.
Yeah,
right?
I did for the second one too. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't see that
Which I have to get up at 6 a.m. to watch. So.
Yeah. But obviously people are excited and it's cool stuff, even if it's not, the big shebang. It's still new stuff, and who can complain about that?
Yeah.
Even if they're cow elves.
Believe me, people can't complain about it. Jody, what about you? What are your thoughts here?
You're not allowed to complain.
My thoughts are that it's cool. This is great that they're giving us something, but is this: every time they do one of these preview videos at Adepticon or any event, within minutes, maybe hours at least, they're on the internet anyway.
Yeah,
everybody has access to them. So given the current level of weirdness we're all dealing with, their announcement that, hey, this is going to be a bigger announcement than ever, and then the delivery of what they actually gave. And I understand that they are doing a lot of this on the fly on very limited resources. And I love that this is happening. I love that this is being made available at all. But this all would have really been available anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like there's an amount of it that I kind of go, you're selling me on something that I would have got anyway.
Yeah.
You're selling me on features that I already was going to have. So I don't know.
I mean, you're seeing their commentary, on it, which is cool. Maybe they could have had some people phone in, all independent characters, and get reaction.
It is fun. It is fun in person to see it. I don't think that's translating quite as well to the internet.
No,
but I appreciate the effort.
That's it. I mean, in a nutshell, that's my answer. Is
actually agree with you.
Appreciate the effort. Thank you for doing something, but you sold it as though it was going to be something extra.
Yeah,
and instead, it feels like on some level, it's actually less.
Yeah, I don't think the hype. I think it overhyped it a little bit. Yeah,
and I
will agree.
And I'll own my own bias here aggressively. That I am somebody who, when you hype something, I immediately go, okay, well, let's see it then.
Yeah.
And my expectations, maybe I'll go, all right, I'll take you at your word. If this is the biggest announcement ever, then I expect the biggest announcement ever.
Yeah.
Because that's what you told me you were going to deliver.
Yeah.
Yeah. It almost seems like they should have started with the big announcement. I know they're trying to build up
that's
this
an
crescendo, but maybe you start out with boom, this is what's happening. And then just so you guys know, over the course of the next couple weeks, we have
cow elves. I think Justin's right.
Fabius Bile, and but wait, there's more. I don't know. People will be more excited, I think.
I think you're right, Justin. I think you're 100% right. I think
All that said,
Yeah.
I will not lie. I am out of my mind excited to see that Fabius Bile model and get my hands on it. I bought an old one a while back just to paint it as a like spend way too much time staring at one figure. There was something randomly in my head clicked, like, you know, the butcher's nails or some sort of weird super soldier serum.
Slanesh's probes.
They're okay. Then yikes.
Hey,
but there was
you took
something
that.
about that character that just all of a sudden spoke to me in a way it hadn't ever before. It might have been actually from the shows we were doing of like exploring different characters of the Chaos faction.
Yeah.
And I just was like, man, I really want to take a deep look at this model. So I am super excited to see one of those and get my hands on it and spend some time with it. But yeah, it's great. I love that they're doing it. I think the sentiment is in the right place. I love all of that, but it does feel a little underwhelming every time I see the like, cool. So what were the releases? Oh,
Yeah. When the first one ended, I was like, wait, what? Like,
yeah.
Yep.
Yes,
you're
exactly.
done?
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
It's like just go big, you know.
I think
like this.
I think Justin's right. I think
Go
you
big,
reverse
man.
the order.
Yep.
And go, you know, right from the top, 9th edition, boom, right? Because look, it's gonna be 9th edition, Josh.
Better be.
It's gonna be.
It's time.
I'm ready.
Time.
I'm ready.
We're all ready.
My body's ready.
Yes.
I mean, I think like Jody said, they really could have, for whatever my opinion's worth, they could have, you know, done nothing. They could have just done the web release and said,
Right.
"Here you go."
That would have been
Instead-
underwhelming too.
Well, yeah, it would have been, but instead, in a weird way, I think that like sometimes I don't know if this is getting like put in video format for independent characters, people, but I'm in my bedroom right now.
Yeah, it is.
Who wants to see what the Josh's room looks like and Jody's room and my bed? Yay! Like there's something like
Let me show you my game room.
there's something like yeah. There's something very like, you know, human about seeing people in their element.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe I should have recorded this in the slaughter hut.
Yep.
But it was cool to see these people like kind of in their houses, still wearing the Warhammer shirts.
Yes.
Up top.
Well, they're
But
still working.
Down below, they're wearing like, you know, pajamas, which is fine.
If you're lucky. You know what's interesting is they are working. I mean, they are working from home. They are still, you know, earning their paycheck. They're doing that kind of thing. I agree. I think it's great actually. And one of the points I was going to make was, Justin, I think you hit the nail on the head again. Like it draws you closer to the people who are designing this game. I mean, the reality is, and I said this from the first time I went out to Warhammer World and came back, like the thing that shocked me was these are just guys that think the game is really cool. Like they're not this monolithic entity that you think they are. They are just people who just really like this game and think it's cool.
And you could also see them learning too from it. Like
sure.
the first time around was kind of like they had these big gaps in between these little releases, and they're like, okay, next time we're going to shorten that, and next time we're going to. So they're
And you
it's
got to
new for
have
all of us.
a headset and mic because it's not, you know, we couldn't hear somebody at one point. Jody?
One interesting thing that's come up kind of tangential to this, but similar, Darren Latham's been doing a bunch of live casts
Yeah.
where he's been posting a bunch of stuff online that he's been working on while he's been at home, but he's also been live casting and answering people's questions and chiming in a weird way. I think, Justin, I can't help but wonder because he's pulled down his YouTube channel. If you haven't checked out Darren Latham's YouTube videos, go check them out.
Can you still see his old stuff, or after it gets taken down, is it all gone?
I think it's gone.
No, he's going to kill the channel. Gone. And I think at this point, as of recording, you only have about a week left. It's the 13th right now, and I'm not sure.
Such
on the
a
date,
shame
so.
because
that's a
great
travesty.
stuff. Yeah.
So he's been posting these live videos, and I can't help but wonder if that's, you know, the GW, you know, corporate or legal side of things saying, hey, this doesn't work for us for whatever reason.
It may.
And I don't have a problem with that at all. Like,
No.
I really get that, hey, they're a business, and if that's a profitable content, they need to be tapping into it. But it's been really cool, Justin, to your point of like them learning that. I wonder if they're allowing some of these guys to go out and live cast as a means of continuing to connect in this new strange way with the community. And I think I think hopefully that's the really cool thing that comes out of them doing these is they get better at their community engagement. And it seems like they are, that, like
Yeah.
Justin, exactly you said, they're learning.
Josh, I know you got something to say, but I just want to dovetail off of what Jody just said. I agree 100%. I mean, the fact that they have a community team now, and that community team does seem to have quite a bit of freedom. I mean, they have to work within certain parameters, of course, that makes sense. But you can see them, as Justin said, learning and growing and becoming more adept at this. I mean, the first reveal video was genuinely like they put that together in a week and are like, okay, we're gonna do this, and they made it work.
I'm hoping somebody slips up and is like, oh, and then this is this whatever says something, and they're like, oh my god, God, bring it down.
You're gonna go to somebody's room. They're gonna have a bunch of War Machine
until
stuff.
next year, dummy.
Here's plastic Angron.
Oh my god!
Because it's not like they can edit, right? Slip up, Games Workshop. You wanna.
I wouldn't be shocked if they are slipping something in the back there. Actually,
I'm sure. Well, the videos have been fun too. Like not to go like full AOS, but like that Gargant release.
Oh yeah.
You're watching this little fairy tale story, but then you watch that video and you're like looking at the artwork of these little giants Gargants. You're like, oh, those are little sneak peeks of the kits.
If you look where they were 5 years ago to where they are now, night and freaking day.
Get out of here! Get out of here,
Josh. You had a point you wanted to make. I'm sorry.
Well, it was actually to the end of Jody's point now that everybody's touched on there is the fact that regardless of what you think of the content that they've put out there for the preview specifically, is that they're putting a ton of time and effort into growing this community together, even though we're all apart right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they're doing, how to play 40K remotely, setting up webcams for tabletop views, and just bringing us into the homes of the people in the community that, to your point, they're just regular dudes that like the game. And I think this is just humanizing them even a step further and just, showing them that we're all just hobbyists kind of in this situation together. Let's make the most of it.
Cool. All right. Well, I think we've thoroughly answered that question. Let's move on to question 2, which is, so the pandemic, COVID-19's had a pretty stark effect on various conventions, such as locally KublaCon, GaryCon. I don't know what's going on with Gen Con, but more importantly for me and probably for you guys, Adepticon. How do you think these types of conventions are going to change in the future in a post-COVID-19 world? What other changes in gaming do you kind of think you'll see? Because, I mean, there's always been this thing about the con crud. I've gotten it. Now, what do you think? I mean, how do you think people are going to react to this kind of thing? Jody, let's start with you.
So, honestly, I think at the time now where this all feels really scary and it feels so real and surreal to be stuck in your home or yesterday I went out and got a couple takeout pizzas and it was, 8:00 at night or 7:00 at night. And there was nobody around. I mean, it was ghost town. It's strange. That said, I think when this is over and people come back together, my gut says that it's going to be shocking how quickly we snap back to air quotes normal, that we go back to not being considerate of this and not thinking about it. I think it's going to be, as human beings, we're spectacularly resilient. And maybe that's, in part my bias comes from working with young people who are, I'm constantly humbled by their ability to adapt and be resilient to things. And I think as humans, we tend to be dismissive of tragedy as a coping mechanism. So I think socially, there's actually not going to be that much change. I think, I hope a year and a half from now, or a year from now, when I'm at Adepticon and hanging out with all you Yahoos and Dan and Campbell and all the Midwest weirdos, that I'm not even thinking about this. I'm just enjoying that. And maybe it's a laugh that like, God, that sucked that we couldn't be here last year, I'm, as much as it sucked to not go to Adepticon, KublaCon, one of our local conventions, has become this really specific landmark for me that marks my teacher summer is about to begin. I was just, and it's a getaway for my wife and I, and now Matt and his wife come with us and hang out. This year, Cliff, one of our local guys, and his wife, we're going to also come and join in, and it's this whole weekend away, and it's this great thing. And when that got canceled, it was like, well, how am I going to know my school year is done? Like, that to me is my graduation every year.
Turns out the governor told you your school year is done.
Yeah, word that he could say I didn't have to work anymore too. That'd be dope. But I think actually, in a weird way, people are gonna not change that much. And my hope is, like, to put a more positive spin on this, that people just are gonna go back to normal and not care. I hope at least that we can take as a collection of human beings that we're willing to be a little bit more considerate of your fellow human being, a little more gentle, a little more. When somebody cuts you off in line, you go, you know what, man, I hope they're okay. And that's why they cut me off, is they're in a rush, and not just the instant assumption that they're a jerk. And that they're going through their own stuff. And maybe we can be a little more considerate in that way is my kind of hopeful spin on this, that, I'm going to try and take out of this is, we're all dealing with stuff, and it's kind of nice right now because we're all dealing with the same stuff.
Mm.
We're just dealing with it in our own realities. So, but I think big picture, it's really not. I think in a year from now, we're going to have some really great jokes and punchlines and memes, more great memes about this experience, and we'll kind of go back to normal.
Okay.
I don't mean to be dismissive, because
no. I don't think it is. I think that's probably legitimate. I mean,
yeah,
not
it's kind of underwhelming.
But I mean, you look at in the United States when 9/11 happened, we went through the same thing. Like, everybody was super nice to each other for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And now look at where we are, very, very divided, that kind of thing. So, who knows? Justin, what do you think here?
I mean, ultimately, it's hard to not get all political on this, right? Because people don't really know kind of where the curve is at and how bad it's going to go, or if we're in the middle or the end, and how bad this thing is, and it could potentially come back around, and nobody really knows. So it's hard to say, but I can't imagine, after getting hit with the first pandemic in how long, that things aren't going to change. Whether that's you maybe don't hug your fellow badcast bro that you haven't seen in however long. You maybe give him an elbow, or
Nothing's
maybe this is the death of the handshake. Yeah, the death of the handshake, the death of really kind of being, because I'm a super touchy feely kind of guy. I love doing the bro hugs and firm handshakes. So that's the way I was raised, right?
Yeah.
You look somebody in the eye, you give them a firm handshake. When I was playing games, the whole hey, dude, just roll my dice. I don't care. I'm going to roll crappy regardless. Just, you're not going to curse my dice. I feel like that's going to change a little bit,
Yeah.
Now how it's going to affect these cons where you have these big, massive aquariums of gamers who some within that aquarium don't really have the best hygiene as it is.
Yep.
I'm not trying to be negative and stereotype, but we all know the gamer funk. We all
that
know
stereotype
the
comes from a reason, right?
It comes from a reason, right? So my hope is that people will wash their hands better. To hell if you have the BO, whatever. But wash your hands. Just take care of yourself, right? And that's the one thing that I always thought I washed my hands a lot and really took care of myself when I come home. But now it's you're just thinking about everything you touch throughout the day. And I would think that when you go to a convention, when you go into that Nurgle aquarium, that you're going to have to think about that even more,
Yeah.
But then you factor in people's drinking, and it's going to break down, and people are still going to be hugging and handying, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Interesting.
For whatever it's worth, I hope you're right, Justin. I hope that this does turn, at least just be wash your freaking hands when you take a whiz, wash your hands.
I think the white dwarf handshake's going the way of the dodo. Now it's going to be the white,
So
white dwarf elbow bump.
Yeah. The white dwarf fist bump, dude.
The foot tap.
Yeah, the foot tap.
Yeah.
I know I am definitely washing my hands a lot more, and I'm certainly going to be more cognizant in those environments. I have gotten in recent years much so as I travel a lot. Mm-hmm. As I pass, and I've said this on the show before, as I pass through the security station, I'm doing it, as I wipe down my area on the plane that I'm going to sit in. I think I'm just going to carry that over to, and I'm at the con, and I'm constantly, sanitizing my hands and whatnot. So, Josh, how about you? You had an interesting point here.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have touched on most of, I think, the realities, and a big part of the reality is we just kind of need to wait and see. We don't know yet. A couple of articles that I have read, it is the death of the handshake. It's like handshakes are gone. It's not a thing anymore. But the other part of it is that this could become a seasonally reoccurring.
Yep.
Sorry,
we're laughing because his wife just left the room and switched off the lights.
She does that all the time. I'll get it later. Anyways, this could easily become a seasonally reoccurring thing.
Yep.
And every time I'm in the shower, she turns the light off.
Same. I think it's on purpose.
That's
I think
the
it's
best.
get backs.
I'm just not a person doer. Here, let me turn this one off too.
Yeah. I sees in the dark.
So anyways, like if it becomes a seasonal thing, it could have some serious impact on conventions, like until a vaccine comes out, something like that. It could really affect the whole swing of conventions and large public gatherings for a couple of years until things are really there, if ever.
Yep.
And that's a wait and see. Like we have no idea if it's going to come back, if it's going to mutate, if it's going to get stronger, worse, better, whatever. We just don't know right
Frickin'
now.
Tyranids met Nurgle, and they're mutating and adapting.
It's the Gene Stealer cult invasion, dude. Like
It's really little ones.
Yeah, little bugs.
Yeah, micro.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
bugs.
But I know it's going to change my behavior,
Yeah.
especially as I get older. I'm going to start entering that age category where, I'm more at risk than you guys because you're all young. I got to watch myself, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Conventions for days.
So we're going to take a short break and then we're going to come right back and we'll launch into the further questions. So we'll be right back.
Hey guys, I'm Caleb.
And this is Kat.
And we are CK Studios. We want to invite you and your friends to come paint with us at one of our exciting and fun-filled airbrush and hobby weekenders. Our weekend workshops are 2 days of intense hands-on training, working directly with and learning from some of the top gaming artists in the industry.
Whether you're brand new to miniature painting or an experienced veteran that wants to up your game, CK Studios has the workshop for you. Our workshops cover everything from learning the basics and building confidence in airbrushing, all the way up to creating that centerpiece model for your army or display case.
For more class info and our upcoming schedule, you can find us on Facebook at CK Studios Come Paint With Us or register directly at ckstudios.bigcartel.com.
If you can't find a class near you, that's okay. Just contact us and we'll bring a workshop to you.
Doing it live.
We are. I just recorded that. Welcome back to episode 204 of the Independent Characters. So we're continuing our Warrior Lodge here. I've got, I think, 3 more questions for you, for my esteemed panel here. So let's launch into question 3. 2 factions, Harlequins and Deathwatch, will not receive updates in the Psychic Awakening book, but will instead receive those updates in White Dwarf. What are your thoughts around this? Do they feel like an afterthought because they are getting this type of attention? Or is this the right way to release smaller factions like this? For example, we have not done a show of force on Harlequins yet because I'm like, that's a very small show of force. What else would I add to that episode? It's tiny. So is this the right thing to do? Wrong thing to do? Does it feel like an afterthought? Let's start with Justin this time.
So when I got that news, I gotta say I'm kind of at the point where I'm kind of jaded.
Okay.
And I don't really care personally on how Games Workshop is putting out the information. In a way, it might be better for me personally because I don't have to buy a whole Psychic Awakening book that I don't really care too much about what else is in that book.
Mm-hmm.
I can just pick up that White Dwarf and I have my rules. So for me, I don't know. I wasn't frustrated by it too much. I just hope and pray that the content is there. At the end of the day, as long as for me the content is there and there's some cool new stratagems, there's some cool possibly new unit types, maybe, probably not. I'm okay with it.
Okay.
It's just another little thing I got to figure out how to tote around. That being said, at what point, and I hope that's part of the Games Workshop plan for 40K, is to really go digital because it's getting a little crazy at this point. And I know
this topic comes up almost every episode.
We beat that drum a lot, but it's a niche faction, right? Death Watch and Harlequins are
Yeah.
both very niche. So it's like, is it really that unexpected?
Yeah.
Did we really expect,
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. And I would also say you can buy White Dwarf digitally now too. So you can get that way. Josh, what about you?
Yeah, I'm not particularly invested one way or another because I'm not playing either of these armies. But I think White Dwarf has done a good job to establish themselves as a kind of a powerhouse once again. I know it's been very intermittent in how they've delivered and what caliber and quality of things have been published in White Dwarf before, but now it's published digitally, so there's no worries about access because before it's like, oh, I can't get my Blood Angels Codex in the White Dwarf because those are gone, or the Assassin rules or things like that, which wasn't even that long ago. But they're doing a good job with the magazine once again, and I think one way to look at it is just a price savings. To Justin's point, like you're spending whatever $8 for a White Dwarf instead of $35-$40 for a
thin book, which you need just a part of.
Yeah, for an entire Psychic Awakening book, but you're going to get the same rules. And realistically, I don't know this for a fact, but I wouldn't be surprised if these rules are being written by the exact same studio designers that would have done a hardcover Psychic Awakening book,
they are
right. So
they are.
It's a distribution choice versus a rules choice for the quality and caliber of them. So I think it's more probably a price savings on Games Workshop's point, but also onto the customer, the player, the end game user. So now you're spending $8 instead of $40 or whatever, and you're getting the same quality and caliber of rules, and they're available in print and digital. So
fair point.
It's funny how that works too. Like say for example, they came out with like Blood Angels in a White Dwarf, and the rules were like super powerful. Who would be complaining?
That's very true. Jody,
everyone who doesn't play Blood Angels.
Oh, did I steal Jody's?
No, you didn't. Well, Jody, what were your thoughts here?
Well, you didn't steal. You set me up. It was a beautiful segue. I'll slip you a $5 next time. I agree to a point with what Josh said, but there's one assumption buried in that history has not been kind to. So bonus content in a White Dwarf, it's a great access to maybe be a teaser way to get people into those niche factions. As somebody who is a long time, pointy-eared, curious, Eldari curious person, White Harlequins have always been the like, man, if you love to paint, how do you not be tempted to paint Harlequins? And I do enjoy painting. So all that being said, I'm like, yeah, I'm tempted. I want to check out those rules. I want to see the new hotness. But my goodness, and I'm going to own, again, like this is apparently my catchphrase for this episode, I'm going to own my bias that something happened in my past with White Dwarf releasing rules when they released rules in a White Dwarf and single-handedly, in my opinion, destroyed a game because of White Dwarf rules. Way back in the waybacks, there was a game called Mordheim, and it was a fantasy-based skirmish game. Fantastic small-scale game.
Yep.
The box set had everything you needed to play, but you had to play human warbands. People were clamoring and wanting elves and orcs and dwarves, and it made sense for those races to be part of that game, especially dwarves as treasure hunters. They released those dwarf and orc rules through White Dwarf, and they were they weren't unplayable. One faction was unplayable because it was terrible, and the other one was exceptional. The dwarves were so good that it wasn't fun to play against them. They literally just, the rules were terrible. Now, admittedly, this is going back.
I was going to say, we're back in like the late 90s now?
Yeah, we're back a long way. But there is a long history of the supplemental White Dwarf rules,
Blood Angels,
not being as well thought out and as well developed and as carefully looked at. And I am terrified about, in the current climate of being as owning it as the guy who said, hey, the having 3 books isn't an issue. I would never have foreseen where we're at now, where I'm like, no, it's kind of an issue. Like we've hit the point where it's not 3 books, it's 4, 5, 6 books. It really is. It's a lot to keep track of. And now you're throwing White Dwarf articles to try and keep track of.
Yeah.
And if those White Dwarf rules aren't as well regulated, even as a casual player, I'm like, I can't casually walk to the table and go, oh, that's a Space Marine. Yeah, I know what Space Marines do. I'm good. and then I'm midway through a game and suddenly Space Marines open up and they completely wipe out an entire 30-man squad or something. And I'm like, wait, what? That didn't used to be a thing. Oh no, well, there's this supplement and this thing in White Dwarf and then this other book. And when you put those all, so I love that it's there. I'm always a fan of White Dwarf being a great hobby resource. I think the value of that magazine has just continued to skyrocket. I love it, you know.
Just cautious.
I am real. Whenever they go like, oh, this faction's getting an update and their official rules in here, I go, I don't want White Dwarf official rules, because there's a long history of really, really not well thought out rules getting dropped in the White Dwarf. So we'll see. I mean, who knows? This could be, you know, the icing on the cake that's perfect for Harlequins and Death Watch and just makes them perfect. Or it could be like, hey, suddenly you spend a command point and you win.
Yeah.
And
I think it's going to be the same team developing this stuff. And then the other thing I would add there is they have also started the annuals. So it's not like you wouldn't be able to, but again, it's another book. And I hear what you're saying, but it's not like the articles will disappear.
The annual allows you to get your hands on it, which used to be the big problem of like, I literally can't get these rules. You can get the rules now. My concern is it's the same team writing it, but that doesn't mean it got as much looking at. It doesn't mean it's got as much play testing.
Agreed.
It doesn't mean it got, you know, so we'll see. You know,
I don't think we play tested
so
these.
In Justin, your example of like, hey, Blood Angels showed up in White Dwarf and they're phenomenal. How phenomenal are they? Phenomenal.
No, I was being very facetious. Like, I don't think they were taken as like a, you know, OP kind of a thing.
But that's happened, right? Like there's been these examples of, it's not like, oh, that's cool. It's no, this is
Chaos Demon supplement that was way
but
too
I can't
good
recall
back in
under
like 5th and 6th edition.
With
under
the
like
flamers?
8th edition 40K. I can't recall, you know, White Dwarf.
And I'm hopeful, but I don't know that we've seen. Have we seen? Well, I guess the Flesh Terrors got theirs and it was fine. So, you know, I'm hopeful, but cautiously hopeful, I guess, would be the tagline.
It's funny. I would think, especially with you, you know, you guys being a little more like narrative minded, like, because a lot of these things are not like usually game breaking things. It's like, here's another like build your own faction. Like, I hope we get like a build your own mask function, like we've seen with Psychic Awakening. How many more narrative possibilities are we going to get from that, you know? And I think, like, to Carl's point too, I think it's all under the same rule. I would they don't have like a White Dwarf rules development team and then a 40K, you know, main. So I guess we'll see, right? We'll see.
Yeah, like I said, cautiously hopeful, because from a narrative point of view, cool, that's great, more rules. It's when you go like, man, I'm playing this thing how you wrote it, and it's breaking the narrative wide open.
For me, my reticence is always the Blood Angels really took it in the shorts for a long time there, as they had spread over 2 White Dwarf articles their codex. Like, they didn't have a codex for a long time. They just dealt with that, and I know that those players struggled with it for a long time. So I'd hate to see something like that happen again.
I remember being the Dark Eldar player who had no love, and I got a White Dwarf article, and I was thrilled.
You were happy to have it. All right. Well, on that
Eldar back then too.
Well, on that note, let's move on to question 4 then. With the latest reveals from Games Workshop, the ones we discussed earlier, we got our first glimpses into StoryForge and the animation work that is being done there. In particular, the style of Angels of Death has garnered the most attention and criticism. What are your thoughts around Games Workshop's delve into this medium? And let's start with Josh.
Yeah. I'm excited for it personally. I think it's a pretty neat approach and media direction for them to take the 40K universe in. I know I've said this before of, you know, video games and movies and things like that being such a good sphere, a population, you know, a good way to approach a population and get an influx of new characters, new players into 40K through a video medium or a video game media. So I think that's awesome that they're jumping in that and doing it themselves. Directionally, the art direction is super stylized from the trailer, from what we've seen. Yeah. It's got the Sin City Schindler's List kind of black and white with just the red color pops, specifically high contrast lighting. It's high key lighting is what it's called. So it's really contrasty. The art direction on it, I'm not sure if that is how the actual production is going to be, or if that is how they've an art direction they chose to produce this trailer in.
No, this is how the actual whole thing is.
So it's the full thing.
Yep.
I would say to that point, it's partially because of the lighting and the stylistic choice that they've taken. It's a little. I wish it was going to be more photorealistic and more. I don't know, more grimdark.
Okay.
I think the characters look great. The people, the ships themselves look a little kind of late 90s, early 2000s rendered video game.
Really?
Which isn't. Yeah, the ships. I think the people look fantastic. The actual characters models are quality, but the ships just didn't do it for me there. But for me, the big point I'll say is it's not Ultramarines walking in the wasteland for 30 minutes. So I think it's a huge win overall.
Jody,
it's not going to be perfect for everybody, but it's the next step forward. Next step.
Okay, yeah. Jody, you raised your hand there.
Oh, I was imitating the 90s cinematography that Josh was talking about. I noticed the same thing on the ships. It's like, here's a planet. Look, a ship that isn't turning moved in front of it.
Okay, like, gotcha.
Okay, that's cool. But I'll chime in. Man, poor GW, you just can't win. When you're at the top of the pile, you know what you can do? You can garner hate. My goodness, I thought that thing was awesome. I was so stoked when I saw it. I was like, this is rad. Please sort out your voice actors. Oh no!
I thought the female captain is quite well done.
And a lot of the audio dramas have the same thing. I just can't imagine Space Marines with even vaguely squeaky voices.
No,
and they
should be
seems
deep
to be
and
in
bassy.
Every audio drama.
Yeah,
you got this Space Marine with this really creaky voice, and I'm like, I don't remember that part of the gene seed process.
It should be deep like this.
Well, it's funny.
I can't even do it. Justin has the deeper voice.
Super deep because they have these giant resonant barrel chested.
Yeah.
But all the voice actors are these skinny little Brits who just don't physically embody that. So like,
no, shots fired.
For the Emperor, love. You're absolutely daft.
There's a physical difference to produce that kind of voice resonance that just isn't going to happen.
Well, they all have these craggy voices. If you go, and I'm going to use this
is
for
it
two
tea
reasons.
Time?
Oi.
Oi.
It's so Hell's Reach.
Yeah.
The animated fan Hell's Reach. There's two things I want to mention about that. And I think this is where the hate comes from is Astartes, which just wrapped up.
Yeah.
Awesome. Blown.
Yes.
And then Hell's Reach, which is also phenomenal. The animated fan Hell's Reach. Grimaldus and Grimaldus. Yeah. It's just like, that's not a
But you
Marine.
realize the guy doing this and kind of heading this, or at least involved in this project, is the guy from Hell's Reach, the guy that did Hell's
Which is my second
Okay.
point.
Okay.
So the
Sorry, I
color
stole your thunder.
choice of the animated Hell's Reach series was as somebody, as an English teacher, I took that on a symbolic level.
Yeah.
That initially it's this really scratchy kind of black and white that he's not in war.
Yeah.
And then when he goes to war, things get clearer and clearer and clearer. And at the end of the story, when he leaves the war front, it goes back to sketchy and scratchy.
Oh, that's interesting. I'd never noticed that.
Yeah. Somebody,
I'm going to have to go back and
pointed
take a
it
look
out
at
to
that.
me.
Okay.
And when I saw this black and white high key, Josh, is that what you said it's called? High key style of lighting. And this, spot red of the Blood Angels, I was like, are they doing that again? Is that because I thought that was such a smart, way of using the medium, of delivering the story on a deeper level, which is something I'm always looking for. The difference between literature and just fun fiction, both are great, but what's the difference is that layers of content, layers of connection. And man, when I saw that, I was like, this is cool. It's stylized. It's interesting. If you'd asked, going back to the 90s, if you'd asked me back then, you want to see a really cool cartoon of Space Marines that looks awesome? Yes,
please.
I do.
Yeah.
Did any of you guys see the live action Space Marine videos they released back in the 90s?
They were part of a video game.
Oh,
and I'm trying to remember the name of the video game, but yeah.
Oh, they were so bad they were good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but hey, that guy at least sounded like a Space Marine.
Yes.
Anyway,
it's weird how that voice acting can really take you out of the story.
Yeah.
But, I feel like my punchline though really on this is that thing looks cool. Like, step back from it for a second, forget all the cool fan made stuff you've seen and just look at it.
It's cool.
Neat.
Yeah.
It looks cool. Show the folks some love. And the reality is they made this freaking product that we've, all spent inordinate amount of time loving on and being infatuated with. They're not going to just ham-fistedly smash it into the ground by having the Space Marines walk around aimlessly for a half an hour. They're going to do something cool. It's going to be neat.
Again.
Yeah. I am looking forward to it. Justin, what about you?
The stuff at Games Workshop, I know we're talking about fan-made stuff versus Games Workshop stuff, and I got to say,
I'm not talking about versus anything. I'm just curious as to what you think about this, but
yeah.
You can go versus mode if you want.
So what I've seen from Games Workshop, for me, I look at Astartes or Death of Hope, and I go, we need to see more. Like, if there's people out there that are fans that are making stuff, like, I mean, the first initial Death of Hope stuff for me was so amazing. The last video, I was kind of like, okay, what's going on here?
Here's the thing with the last video, and here's the point I'm going to make about what was it, Death of Hope or whatever it is. One thing I noticed in particular with that is, first off, you have like maybe just a couple people working on the project, and to render all that stuff takes a long time, unless it's even just one guy.
A long time.
What happens is, in any medium like this is, hey, I spent a long time rendering this piece, so I'm going to show you that piece a lot without it moving the story forward, because I spent a lot of time developing that piece. So like I thought that was like the most darkest thing I'd seen for 40K ever. But at a certain point I was like, okay, let's move forward.
Yeah.
Now.
Right.
Whereas when you have a large team working to render stuff, they're not quite, I don't think, quite as attached to every frame that they've rendered, and they could just move forward from it.
Better editing just because you're not as attached.
There were things I very much liked about it. Don't get me wrong. There were things I very much liked about that. There were things I very much liked about Astartes, and there were problems with Astartes too that people seem to not realize. But overall, it's fantastic. Like, it's fantastic, and it's one or two guys working on that thing. Holy smokes! I can't do that.
I mean, I dig the artistic kind of style, that Sin City kind of style. Or
by the way, one of my favorite movies ever.
Yeah, great, right?
Yeah.
Fantastic. But we just got to see a little more, apparently.
Yep.
It was really cool seeing the Tyranid Hive fleet.
Yeah.
Put into motion, because that's something that obviously we've never seen before. And I want to say they were talking about that in an interview somewhere. Where
they were talking about it in the interview where they showed it.
The reveal, right?
Yeah.
Talking about like, okay, we're gonna, this thing might be like a zoanthrope and shooting this blast out. And
how would its weapon look? And
kind of awesome, right? So all in all, like, it's stuff that's like a new frontier. It's stuff for them to experiment with, and we're all gonna soak it up.
The exciting thing too, and like people keep, like, I saw these people, hired the guy from Astartes. What makes you think they aren't? They hired the guy who did Hell's Reach. The cool thing about what Games Workshop is doing right now that they didn't do before, because before they would have just shut down Astartes, and they would have shut down this Death of Hope, and they would have shut down Hell's Reach. And now what they're doing
is a little,
now what they're doing is they're saying, okay, I like what this guy did. Let's talk to him and see if we want to buy the software he wrote, or we want to.
Did Inquisitor get shut down? Was that Inquisitor
project? No. It kind of died on the vine.
I think it just petered out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
it's cool to see.
Whenever you have a project like that where you have multiple people involved, things tend to go wrong eventually. So, unless it's somebody's job, you have differences of opinion. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm very excited about it. I'm very curious to see what they do. I'm going to watch it all. I'm going to watch
and the TV show, right? We're getting the Eisenhorn TV show
at some point. That's the plan.
At some point, like,
if this is a subscription service, sign me up. I'm going to sign up for it.
Right.
Right. But I think this is also an important step for them to appeal to a wider audience, to diversify away from just, hey, we make models, especially as we go into the 3D print era. This is going to offer more, and it's going to draw more people to the game, I think.
For sure.
Disney Plus of Warhammer.
Yeah, I'm okay with that too, man. Okay.
Yes, please.
Question 5, the final question. You guys have made it all this way, and now we're here at the final question. And here it is. And I noticed Jody has left a blank here, and I know why. Because when I wrote this question, I thought, I don't know if Jody's going to have a lot of input here, but the Horus Heresy by Black Library is drawing to a close with the Siege of Terra. We now have 4 of the 8 books that are slotted in the series. Now, there have been a couple novellas added to it, but great. Those are all side distractions, in my opinion. There really is the core 8 books written by the select authors that are telling the story. They've worked it out very thoroughly. This will end at book 8. What facet of Warhammer 40K would you like to see Black Library explore next? Is there a particular period of time? Is there a war you want to see detailed? Or should they just stop doing lengthy series like this? They tried to do one with the Beast Arises, and I'll be honest, it wasn't particularly exciting. I got about 4 or 5 books into it, and I was like, yep, I'm done. What is your thoughts around where they go once they close out Siege of Terra? And let's start with Justin.
Easy.
Okay.
I'm okay with, like, how do you follow up the Horus Heresy in a big book series? Like, where do you really go? Do you go to like the Thunder Warriors and like way back in time? Like, what can you really do with that? Was there a Thunder Warrior Heresy? Like, ultimately for me, I want to see more Xenos love. Shocking, okay. I know.
No, I think that's legit.
But I'm okay with like the death of these like big, like drawn out series books and saying like, okay, we're going to focus on the Hrud and the Space Marines, and let's release like a Hrud kit and like some Hrud characters. Maybe not do a full army.
Yeah.
Or a known faction. Like, let's just say, I don't know, let's take Eldar, for example. Shocking, everybody, I know. But you take like Eldar and maybe orcs, like a Xenos like focused book, and you say, what can we do with orcs that we haven't touched on for a while? Mm-hmm. Oh, I don't know. We haven't touched snake bites in forever. Let's see a new Boar Boy unit released with some sweet savage modern orcs, right? And this could be a savage on savage. We could have some Exodites come out. And so you have these big books that come out, and you may not release like an entire army out of it, but you could maybe get a couple units and maybe enough to do a basic battalion out of it. So these could be some pretty cool things that come out to get people super excited and to kind of plug and fill gaps in the ranges that are blatantly there, like Catachan Jungle Fighters.
Okay. Josh, how about you?
Yeah, so similar but different take. I'm actually really excited for the upcoming crime series.
Oh, okay.
That's coming up, because this is touching on 40K in a way that we haven't really seen before, at least across multiple planets, multiple locations, multiple characters. And this is just the everyday Imperial citizen, whether they're criminals or otherwise. I think it's really going to paint a broader picture of the 40K universe as it actually affects humans within the Imperium.
Yeah.
And I, for one, am super excited for that. And, partially it's because I have a love of Necromunda and things like that. And that's what's going on in the hives there.
Yeah.
But also some of the other books that have touched on, I'm blanking on the name, the gray, not the Gray Knights, but the, I'm totally screwing up this one.
The,
Garros
yeah,
dudes.
Garrow and I'm trying to think of what their name is too.
I've dropped the ball. So anyways,
okay.
In the Garrow novels,
they're based off Hedge Knights, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They paint more, there are certain parts of that paint more of a picture of kind of the everyday Imperial life of This is what the bureaucratic paper pusher does. This is what a server does. This is just dudes in the hive somewhere of some outskirt town. And for me, that's actually really interesting, because it paints the greater picture of 40K, even though it's not in a war-torn environment. And I know it does contradict directly in the grim darkness of the far future. There is only war. Like, man, I want to see some of the there's so much narrative to explore and so much thematic kind of texture to dive into story-wise, that I think it's more interesting storytelling and it's more dynamic character building than just two factions fighting over and over and over again. We've seen so much of that I'm excited for something different.
Knights Errant. That's what they're called.
Yes.
It's driving me nuts too. I don't think I heard a word you said. I just kept going, what is...
You can listen to it later. It's fine.
I heard we're recording this. And Jody,
Well, so
I saw the move you made when Justin said, how do you follow up that?
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because like that's it is when I saw this question, I did blank because I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. Black Library. Cool. And then I was like, well, let me think of the wars I know about from, I do read lore. I just don't read Black Library, and when I started thinking about it, I was like, oh, they could do the Badab. They did that.
Yeah.
Oh, but they could do like Gazkul's Origin. Oh, they did that. Like, and every time I thought about something Xenos, I was like, there's novels for that. Like that, at least the things that came to mind for the biggies. And to a degree, like listening to Justin and Josh talk about it, what triggered for me that I was like, you know what they haven't done that goes back to day one? And part of this is because I literally just purchased the box set and was considering like, maybe I want to dive into this. It's got a solo player mode and I got some solo time right now, is Rogue Traders. Like, make a Rogue Trader. And like, and to Justin's point about like the Hrud or, Duragar. Or
if anybody's going to run into them. Yeah.
Right. You could send this Davy Crockett style character into a little bit of Star Trek style, a Brave New Frontier. I know Matt got really excited by the various Rogue Trader kits that came out across systems for a little while and was really enjoying those and interested in them. And in picking up Blackstone Fortress, I was like, there is some really neat stuff here. And there's an interesting tie-in between the Blackstone Fortress and the Talon of Horus novel that I've been listening to recently and finding some connections there about how things work and that, maybe it's not totally different from what Josh was saying about that character allows you a different glimpse into the bureaucracy and the giant machine that is the realm of man. But it doesn't, I was laughing at Josh's like, what does a servitor do? Ooh, the Servitor series. I want to read that. The 6 books on Servitor 87-32 Alpha.
Yeah, all in binary.
It's all ones and zeros. Yep.
But while I love that stuff, give me a character, like Gaunt, but give me Gaunt that's bigger than life. Give me Gaunt that has the Lilo, Dallas multipass to all of the things. And a Rogue Trader could be
to be clear too, in one book, not a series of clerical Imperium people doing.
To be clear, I do not want a series about what servitors do.
Okay.
But I want a series. This is like, and that's what
a series of book about a Rogue Trader.
A series based around think Sherlock Holmes, think Tony Stark in the Iron Man movies, like this series of this character going through. And I don't want it to be Gotrek of the Gotrek series in Age of Sigmar and Fantasy of Yore, where he just constantly finds something bigger and cooler. Just Star Trek, brave new worlds to explore, and let him go out there. I think that could be amazing.
That could be really, really interesting.
And to Josh's point of loving the crime series, I've listened to the horror omnibus. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. So
some of that stuff was good. Yeah,
I really enjoyed it. So
I wouldn't mind seeing a couple things. I would like if they follow up the Horus Heresy and they still feel like they need to talk about that period in Marines more. Although I will say the Siege of Terra is doing a lot of exploration of how it impacts just people, right? Which is horrifying. They could kind of follow the whole chase of the Chaos Forces that ultimately end up in the Eye of Terror. I mean, they could extend a period about that. But talking about Xenos, Justin, there's that whole thing about Inquisitor Cryptman and how he dealt with Tyranids and burned worlds to try to stop them and ultimately led them to orcs to fight orcs. And then now they're going to come out worse than ever. And, that could be a very fascinating piece.
It's funny you say that because that was when I first started typing out my show notes. My first thing was to go to 30K Xenos.
Yeah.
Like what did, and we've seen in some of the Eldar releases, for example, like Ivrain, she's wearing very much the garb from that era. Like how cool would that be to have the 30K guys encounter the Eldar for the first time or whatever, and you could have this whole new range of models and lore that kind of
Could be
goes
interesting, yeah.
I mean, orcs really changed over the,
I don't
probably
know.
not.
I don't
They
know.
just get bigger and badder.
That's right. That's right.
Necrontyr. Let's do some Necrontyr.
Yeah,
Black
I mean,
Light
there's a
Work.
lot. Look, it's a massive universe. There's a lot
It
to
is,
explore.
right?
All right. Okay. Well, listen, guys, we've reached the end. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me about this. We're going to take a break. Then we're going to launch into interview with Kat and Caleb. And then we're going to come right back and close out the show. All right. We're here with Kat and Caleb of CK Studios because everybody's going stir crazy in their house. And I had some things I actually wanted to talk to you guys about. How you guys hanging in there?
Doing pretty good, Carl. Stir crazy, that's a real mild way of putting that. Yeah.
I keep telling all my employees as I get off, I say, stay safe and stay sane because so it's become my
Remember
motto.
all that time you used to wish you had this just sitting hobby for days?
Turns out time wasn't the issue keeping me from getting things painted. Caleb, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I don't want to say benefiting because that sounds so terrible, but I'm not getting all the hobby time everybody's getting, unfortunately.
I am not either. All joking aside, that is, I'm really not. I am spending a lot of time working. So
Yeah.
they say work from home sounds glamorous. It is not. It is really not.
No. And suddenly home doesn't feel necessarily like home while you're home working.
Yeah, that is true.
Caleb's works for the Army, so the Army doesn't quit just because there's a virus.
We're acceptable casualties, so there's a percentage of acceptable losses, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, that's horrible.
Okay, well, on that upper note, let's talk a little bit about, first off, you guys had to, obviously, with Adepticon getting canceled, you guys had classes lined up back to back to back there. How has that impacted you, CK Studios as a company? I mean, clearly it's got to be some lost revenue and that kind of thing, but tell me about what your guys' view is of the cancellation of Adepticon as a result of this. And then we can dovetail from that into classes that you may have had scheduled that have had to be delayed or canceled.
Sure. Do you want me to tackle that, Caleb?
I think we have different takes on it.
Oh,
yeah,
different takes on it, honestly.
Yeah, because Adepticon was something that, of course, I helped with the team there managing the hobby part of it.
Yeah.
And before Adepticon got officially canceled, we went through a few days of artists that were leaving, that had to leave the program, like from Italy and Spain, as their countries got shut down.
Sure.
And it was a mad scramble to get people to cover for the classes that they had been assigned to. Mm-hmm. And it was actually, Carl, it was really neat. Everybody I asked to help, and it was, I think I ended up with 12 different instructors that I had to gather up to cover classes. Mm-hmm. Everybody jumped on it and was like absolutely 100% will help. And it was I was able to get it turned around in like 24 hours when it happened because the community was so willing to help and just take care of it. And this is taking care of the students or the people that go to Adepticon, and making sure that they still got their classes. And that was a real neat experience for me. I keep thinking about that, and I keep thinking about the kind of that support that was there, that intention that was there by everybody to help out. Mm-hmm. It's, of course, absolutely heartbreaking that it canceled in the end. Feel terrible for Matt and Hank and everybody, but the community was very responsive. That was really cool to see.
I mean, I think the way it all pulled together, first off, it's interesting. The logistics of what you just talked about, I find interesting. As particular artists were dropping out, you're trying to backfill them, and then ultimately the whole thing gets canceled. But it's kind of like for a while you're kind of bailing water out of the ship because it has a few holes in it, and then all of a sudden the ship just sinks. You know?
Exactly.
But you got to
with every
keep trying to
class,
bail
we
until
had
it
to find-
sinks, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And we had to depend on vendors and everything. We had to source out overnight, get enough models from different companies for free, and to fill in the class voids and this and that. And people, I mean, it wasn't just the artist, it was the greater hobby community that really stepped up and bail. And about a week later, nope, it's all shut down.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. But kind of, that was my own personal side note, my experience with the shutting down of it, and really that spirit of the community was pretty strong, and it was really cool to see.
So
of course,
Caleb,
it does completely different things to us.
Yeah. From a CK Studios
opinions,
perspective, what does it do?
For CK Studios, man, it's been really interesting. I think that we've had CK Studios perspective. It's been a little different than I think most companies find. We really talk a lot about how we don't do the classes and stuff as a business.
Right.
So the nice part of not being a business is that we don't have a lot of overhead.
Well,
so
you treat it as a business,
well,
right?
Yeah,
but
business,
but it's not your sole source of income or anything like that, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So in that case, it wasn't too terrible, but not being a not being a business per se, we also don't have a lot of what would you call it, liquid assets.
What are you talking about? You have all those paints.
Well, right.
Right.
Sorry.
We were listed out, to go to Adepticon, to go to UK. We had big classes and everything design. We were supposed to go do Warhammer Fest, stuff like that. So what we did have was a lot of money tied up into airfare.
Right.
Significant amount, especially because of the trips to Europe. So that was a little stressful.
Yeah.
We don't have that slush fund to be able to just buy airfare and go, oh, well, we've got so much profit that we can just cover things. We're really, each class that we teach, what we're taking in is pretty much taking care of those travel expenses, as the operational expenses for that class. So we kind of, it's almost like you spend the money ahead of time, which is a difficult situation to be in. Luckily, we're able to. Most of the venues worked with us. Of course, GW still wants us back, everything like that. So we're just postponing, and our students have been very, very understanding about it.
Oh yeah.
Everybody has been like, oh yeah, no problem. We can't wait for you to get out here. As long as you're not canceling on us, let us know. The biggest thing for us was we had to try to let the students know as soon as possible, so that they weren't stuck with airfare and hotels and those non-refundables, getting stuck traveling. So and when it comes to another event like Adepticon or like Warhammer Fest, you're almost at the mercy of those companies, and they're like dragging their feet. I shouldn't say dragging their feet, but they're really trying to make it happen. And nobody knew what this was going to turn into. Adepticon did their darndest to try to make it happen, but I don't think any of us appreciated or really realized how serious this was going to get at the time. When Adepticon was coming up. They were talking, well, we might have to slow things down for a couple weeks. It might be till the end of the month, back at the beginning, at the end of February, they were just talking, well, let's just do like a 2-week or a 3-week moratorium. All of a sudden the rules were like, okay, well, if you flew to these certain countries, then don't, maybe you don't want to come in. But it wasn't really like what it is now. And we're really finally seeing like the results of what's happening and exactly how.
Yeah, I mean, I'll fully admit, when I saw some of my friends on Facebook, just Facebook friends, initially posting about, oh, they were concerned about this, I was like, come on, remember when the bird flu was going to kill us, and then this was going to kill us, and I'm like, this is probably another one of those cases. Oh, guess I'm wrong. I need to stop making declarative statements because I'm almost always wrong.
But I think that was the feeling that a lot of us had, and we're so used. God, it's such a shame. We're so, man, I don't want to talk politics and stuff, but
no.
We're
Let's
so
steer away from that. But yeah,
right. No, this isn't politics, but I mean, it's just our society in general. We're so used to the media kind of blowing things up that we are a bit skeptical.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
I think it really caught us sleeping. As a community, it caught us sleeping because of it. I was the same way. I was like, oh, you look at the numbers. Well, it's not any worse than the flu.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. And,
well, here we sit, though, and now we're all at home. So cool.
Yeah. So that was difficult. And that was a hard part for the CK Studio side, is just trying to be as transparent as possible, trying to communicate with all of our students, let everybody know what was going on, while we're still kind of just waiting on what other people decide.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the results of the CK Studio side.
Okay. I got to tell you, I mean, my biggest concern was, how does Adepticon recover from this? Right. And I thought, oh no, this could be the end of Adepticon at this point. And thankfully, the way things worked out and the way insurance and all that stuff works out, we're here. And we're already planning for 2021. So I'm very, very excited about that. I've said multiple times, to me, it's like Christmas, and Christmas has been canceled. So I legitimately look forward to this more than anything else in the year. My vacation with my family to Hawaii notwithstanding. Yeah, Adepticon's usually right around the corner after that. So
that's a good save. That's a good save.
Yeah. But
and this year, man, Caleb and I had such a sweet schedule to work. We were finally going to have some evenings off at Adepticon, which never happens.
Yep.
And, been able to make plans and do all that. But it's been absolutely amazing, the feedback we've had from the students and their ability to stay with us.
Yeah.
And because I really had to reach out to everybody. And we had one class that was, it was, I can't remember exactly what the logistics of it were, but of all the classes we've had to move, and I think I had upwards of 50 students enrolled, because it's not just Caleb and I in our classes. We've got Vince's classes scheduled in the UK too. He had 2 workshops. We had 2 workshops over there. We've got Justin's workshops all the way through the year, that kind of stuff. And we're having to move all of these back, including working with all the venues and all the airlines and doing that kind of stuff. We've had 2 students that had to ask for refunds.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Of the upwards of 50 students at the time that I was contacting. So everybody's been incredibly supportive, and they're just, let us know when you guys are going to be back and when you get the schedule straightened out. And for us, we're just I'm in California, and Caleb's right over the hill from me in Nevada, and we're kind of waiting for California to settle out to figure out what my mobility is going to be to really nail down our schedule. Because we're in the hot spot, down on this side of things. So really, our students have just been absolutely amazing. But I think we've got a really unique community. We share a lot of people between our 2 communities with independent characters and with CK Studios. And we just really have a special experience with all these folks.
Agreed.
And they've been incredibly supportive.
Yeah.
And it's kind of been a neat springboard, because this means we've had to look at other things and what else do we want to do. And Caleb's got some fun stuff. I'm going to have him bring it up, because he's been launching some fun stuff during the week. And then we're putting together online courses.
Yeah.
I won't bore you with all the details on that, but
give me
we've
some
got
of them,
Zoom set up now. Huh?
Give me some of them, though. Some of the details.
We've got Zoom set up,
okay,
and we're going to be publishing it probably next week, I think. We need to run a test. We're at the point right now that all we need to do is run a test for it,
okay,
and then put it online. And Caleb, I think, has talked a little bit. We haven't decided for sure on this. Caleb's talked a little bit about doing a free session, just kind of an hour or 2, just come and join us, see what this is like, see if it's something you would enjoy, that kind of thing, and then put some workshops together. And Justin has said that he'll do it, and Dan has said that he'll do it. So we're going to have more of a kind of an academy experience, if you will. We'll have different instructors with different classes available
That's very cool.
on different schedules. Yeah, and it really gives us an opportunity to keep supporting our team.
Yeah.
And give them an option to do something, because that's been, honestly, for Caleb and I, like he spoke to it. He and I don't take money out of CK Studios. We literally do this because we enjoy it.
Yeah.
But we
I think that shows, by the way. I think that shows, and it comes through, by the way. If anybody who's taken one of your classes will recognize that it's not just, it's different. I mean, it's not just a class. It's like a communal kind of thing, that goes on as you learn. It's very cool. And you can get as involved in that or steer clear of that as you want during the class, but everybody's invited to be a part of it. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, it is. And it's bigger than just going and learning how to airbrush.
Yeah.
And it's been, doing the online stuff really literally gives us an opportunity to let Justin stay connected with the community, and we would love to work with Dan. This will give us an opportunity. He's already, he's an instructor by that's what he went to school for. He's got his degree in that. And so I'm really excited about it. This has given us an opportunity to step back and go, wow, okay, so we've been asked for 3 years now if we would give people lessons online, and we don't ever have time to put it together.
Yeah.
Guess what we have right now?
Yeah.
We have a little bit of time.
Right. And I've been pretty resistant to the idea of the online classes.
Sure.
I wasn't going to rat you out.
Well, but it is, part of the CK Studios, that atmosphere that you guys talk about, that, to making it more than just a class. It's really important to be able to produce something that's quality. We're really insist that we make sure that all of our classes, we feel like we want the students to feel like they got value for coming. It's a big, both monetary and time commitment that they're doing to come to the classes. We want to make sure that they feel like, they got something out of it. And everything I see on online video tutorials and stuff like that, I was just skeptical of the quality of it. I really want something more than just another tutorial, another video of somebody teaching how to airbrush. There's a bazillion of those out there. If you can't find one, you can't throw an internet rock without hitting one. I guess you could use that I don't know what that's called. But anyways, the point being is I want something that's just a little more, I'm more demanding. I want something that's a little bit better quality. And I think we've kind of stumbled onto that.
Okay.
The setup that I have here now, especially for the Twitch feed, super high quality. I'm pretty happy with what I'm putting out. Our biggest challenge now is going to be getting what we get from the students, because I want to be able to see what the students are doing and help them. And that's where that'll differ from, the regular run-of-the-mill videos, some of the Patreon one-to-ones that I've done and stuff like that. The quality just wasn't quite there. They couldn't quite see what I'm doing. They're like, oh, well, hold it up, put your hand behind the model so that I can see what it's looking at, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You're
kind of how I am about that kind of thing. Like, you don't want to do what everybody else is doing. You want to make it your own, and you want to make it useful and take your own spin on it. And quality, right?
It's got to be quality.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want the students to be able to walk away from going, awesome, I learned something. This was super helpful. I'm really happy I did it. Instead of walking away going, oh, that was cool. It was kind of a waste of my time and a waste of my money. I definitely don't want
that. Would be very frustrating to you, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And so I've been pretty resistant. And we have been hounded. I hate to use that term, but we have been hounded from students about doing some online stuff, because there's a lot of students that can't travel.
Yeah.
There's a lot of areas that we can't hit. Australia is one that comes to mind. We've been wanting to get down there, but the likelihood of making it down there in the next year or so is pretty slim.
Yeah,
so,
I would say so, especially now.
Yeah. We're hoping that we're going to have an alternative product. And I think we're going to carry this on even after all of this mess is done. I think we'll carry on with this as still part of the CK Studios offerings, just to be a little more well-rounded and to allow more people access to what we're teaching. Okay. Because that's ultimately what we're after, is we're after building that community.
Yeah. Well, I think that's fantastic, guys. I'm really, really excited about that. I want to go ahead, Kat.
No, I was just saying, good.
Yeah. I want to kind of dovetail off of that into, speaking for Table War Charities, Caleb, I saw some of the work that you did on your submission for the Table War Charities charity. And let me just say for a minute, this hit us too over at the Table War Charities side of things, where we had put together a group of artists who had contributed to other things as well. Everybody's always after your time. And you guys were generous enough to paint some stuff that we were going to auction off there at Adepticon. We thought we'd make a pretty big splash there at Adepticon when people could see these things in person and just be blown away by them. We've moved that charity to online now, and we've changed a little bit of the way in which the raffle is going to work, so that we can let people get used to that it's out there. They can see pictures of it. They can make the decisions that are right for them. But tell me a little bit about the experience of working with Todd to get these things painted and the other artists. I mean, I know Todd has like a chat going on with all you guys, and you're sharing kind of what you've been doing. I mean, some of this stuff is incredible, and what you've put together is absolutely beautiful, Caleb. Can you talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, I mean, this was a great opportunity. After last year with Siege of Heaven, I was kind of like, I think I want to take a break from doing.
I'm not doing this again.
Right, and it is because there's a lot of moving parts. I mean, there's a lot more to a charity piece than even to like a regular commission piece, because you are working with multiple people, and when it's charity, you really want the quality to be as high as possible. So there's quite a bit to it, but you know what? Every time that you get involved in something, it's so enjoyable to do. And working with Todd is so awesome. I mean,
he's such a
Doug
gentleman.
is awesome. Todd's awesome. All those guys, the Table War guys, hosting this thing have been just fantastic to work with. We did have a little timeline crunch at first, when we thought, okay, we got to have this stuff ready for Adepticon, get it sent over, get the pictures taken, and so all charity events are going to have a little bit of a time crunch, but you guys weren't demanding. I think that was other charity projects that there have been a lot of demands and a lot of I think that's just the way it goes. Anytime there's a timeline, there's going to be some type of
stress.
Taskmaster.
I think more than anything, we were cognizant of that, right? And we don't want to push people, especially when they're being so generous with their time, and we want to make sure that they feel appreciated as well, because what you guys have done is very generous, and just putting your name to something like that makes a huge difference for us. So
it was so fun to watch it evolve too. The artists in that chat group were so genuine about what they were doing and their projects, and the constant updates on where everybody was at. I mean, I don't know if you had the notification turned on for you for that group or not, but it would go off about
all the time,
1:30 in the morning. Yeah. One of the guys doing some of the printing on the terrain and stuff, and
terrain is so
it
cool.
was exciting. You'd wake up every morning and there were updates on these projects, and the artists were so genuinely into it, and they were all trying so hard to do a fantastic job. And I'm sorry, there's James and Kathy Waffle are just fantastic friends of Caleb and I, and to get to watch them do a project and be involved in that, and it was kind of like, it kind of made up for the time that I didn't get to see them for Adepticon. I got to watch all of this go on. I stayed out of the chat. I just read it all the time.
Yeah.
So it was just a running art log and an excited art log about these projects. And Todd was such a cheerleader for all of it.
Yeah.
He was so undemanding, and gentle when he asked for updates, and just showed his appreciation at every single step of it. And that makes it, I think, in talking to Caleb and having conversations with him on him working for that, I think it took kind of the stress off of it. Caleb wasn't, oh man, I got to go work on this thing. It was like, man, I want to get this thing done for them, and I really want to do a good job on this.
That Siege
and
of Heaven
I'm going to put some time
thing,
aside tonight because I really want to do this.
That Siege of Heaven
really
thing was
cool.
on a different level. But the warband that Caleb painted up is just freaking incredible looking. And then, and I'm looking at that and I'm like, wow, this is really good. I wish I could, donate towards it so that I could maybe win one of these things. Cause I always donate towards the other charities that I see out there. Cause I'm like, maybe someday I'll win one of these things, but Adon keeps winning them all. And then he's so won lucky. Like 2 or 3 times. He's so lucky on that. But then I saw what James had done with the whatever they're called, the Splinter Fang guys, which are the group that I had originally picked for Warcry. And then I looked at those and I thought, how did he do that on the breastplate of that guy? And I'm just like, that is amazing,
So good.
Yeah. So good. Oh my gosh, they're so good.
He is a talented guy.
That whole entire slew of art that they've had, because we've got other students, in fact, in our greater alumni community that are involved in doing donations for the Table War charities at some different levels and stuff, and people in my hobby hang out. It's so cool to see all the cool artwork that's out there that's going towards that charity. Yeah. I mean, it's been a phenomenal turnaround of really nice art. Really cool, because it's the first year for this, isn't it?
Yeah, it is our first year, which is why it's such a bummer that the Adepticon cancellation. We were really looking forward to it. Yeah. If you're interested in seeing any of this stuff, you can go to tablewarcharities.org and you can take a look at it and see where we're at. I mean, all the donations are going towards autism advocacy, and it's a great cause. It's an absolutely great cause. I mean, there's a lot of charities out there doing great causes. This one is near and dear to Todd's heart, since one of his children has autism, and he's gone through this, and that's why he kind of started this. And my wife, being a teacher, has sat on the other side of the table during these negotiations with parents with kids with autism and such, and been just as frustrated at what she can or cannot say during those. Getting advocates in front of people to help them through this process is a tremendous help to parents they're dealing with very difficult situations that are lifelong lasting, for their kids. So
absolutely. And kind of to bring to light kind of what everybody's going through right now with COVID and whatnot. And it's been some articles I've read recently, and it's the parents who have children with difficulties that are now having to homeschool their children, and they don't have the resources they need. Make something like this right now, Carl, so important. This is so important right now, and if anybody wants to make an impact on things, this is the kind of thing to get involved in right now, because of those stories. Those kids are now, the ones that were even getting help have reduced access to help because they need to have the funding to put better new programs into place. And this is how you start to make that happen. Other side of it, and I know it's a little bit deep, but that's so important right now. And this is makes what you guys are doing just a tremendously more important effort. Yeah.
Well, on the other side of the fun fence,
right.
I think it's just great. And again, I've been watching all the authors, the artists as you guys have been painting all this stuff, and I've just kind of kept my mouth shut because I look at this stuff and I'm like, holy smokes, this stuff is beautiful. I think Todd at one point was like, do you want to paint something first? I'm like, are you kidding me? No, get out of here. You
should have printed some stuff. You are a master printer.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You could have done some terrain, all kinds of stuff. Oh my gosh.
The terrain that has been printed for this was designed by the individual that printed it. There,
And he did an awesome job. By the
that
way.
stuff is so cool. I seriously I'm trying to figure out how I can politely ask for the files so I can print it, but I don't think that's appropriate. So yeah, it's absolutely incredible stuff. Anyway, but Caleb, you've been pressuring me on two various projects over the course of the last couple of years. One, you keep hounding me about my Warhound Titan and saying how you want to repaint it for me, which I'm not willing to do at this point. But the other thing you were talking about recently was painting up a kill team of Night Lords for my wife because she is a big Night Lords fan because of Aaron Dembski Bowden and wanted to play a kill team. Yeah, so how's that going? First off, we've assembled the models. Shell and I assembled the models. We have to send them over to you. Why would you offer to do such a thing, by the way?
Well, I'm doing that for Shell, not for you. she has put up with us for so long.
She loves you guys.
Right.
Everything. That's the least we can do. And honestly, I would love to get her an awesome kill team to play. Hopefully she can rub it in your face a little bit, beat you a little bit.
Well, it's going to look freaking cool. So she, again, my wife, she insisted that they have a purple slant to them because she always loves purple in her stuff. But I think it's actually a nice color to go with them. And I saw what you were doing in your test model.
Yeah, she doesn't quite want that. So we're gonna try some more. I have some more ideas. We're gonna do something really neat, and that's what's really fun about this is doing these alternative color schemes. That makes it for me. I
gotta tell you, she saw the initial one you were doing, and she's like, "Oh, but I think I want it purple. Should I ask for that?" And I'm like, go ahead and ask. I just ask really nice. I was like, she felt so bad. Like, and then she's like, "Oh, that's too purple. Should I say something?" And I'm like, he's gonna want you to have what you want. Just talk to him nicely. And she just felt so bad about asking for any variation. Yeah.
It's so much fun. The next idea I have is going to be a little better. I think it's going to be closer to what she's looking for. And actually, the next idea I'm going to have is going to be a little faster to paint. It's going to be a little easier. Technique that I was doing for that test Twitch was a little time intensive.
Yeah.
Not that that's a problem. For a kill team, you can. That's the fun thing about the kill team is you can spend some time on your models.
Yeah.
And really get detailing. But if you try to detail an entire army worth, if you're doing 1,800 points, that becomes very monotonous. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I very much appreciate it because she's excited about it. She told me, "Have you mailed those off to Caleb yet?" And I said, "No, I'll do it." It's like the wife husband thing. Have you fixed the drain yet? No, I'll do it. You always say you're going to do it. You don't do it. And I said, "Look, I'm going to ship it out." She goes, "Okay, well, Sunday, I'm going to ask you if it's shipped out." And it's not going to be shipped out. And then it was Saturday night. She goes, "So did you ship my team off to Caleb?" I'm like, "No." I got to get down to the post office. It's all boxed up and everything too. So,
Awesome. Get them over. I'm ready.
She did have fun assembling the models. We sat down. She was working on them. I was showing her the new, Chaos models. It was really interesting that you could. We used some from the Dark Vengeance box set, and then we used some from just kits that I have. Of the newer Chaos kits sitting around. So because it's an elite kill team, you have one Terminator in it, and I think she really enjoyed it. She saw just how dynamic the models were. She was really impressed with, that, or she'd be like, well, I don't like this helmet. And I said, we got, 20 helmets here to pick from. Which one do you like? Oh, I like this one. I like that one. And I said, okay, so just clip this off and we can turn it. How do you want it to turn? Oh yeah, that makes a big difference. So she had a lot of fun. I think we sat together just assembling them and we had a good time. So she really did enjoy that.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we're going to play
She's
some
so
40K
creative.
later this weekend. So thank God I'll get some 40K play in.
Right on.
It's killing me. When this is over, though, Kat, you were supposed to come down for our Adopticon, which was, or Adapticon, I think I was calling it,
Adapticon.
improvise, overcome, and I'd made the logo and everything, but we called it off because things are just not safe right now. But
Right.
When
We postpone.
when this whole shenanigans is over, we'll do something, and you guys got to come down and hang out with us.
Oh, I think we just lost Kat.
Oh no, well that's okay. She'll come back.
Oh, now you're gonna be stuck with me.
Oh yeah. So anyway, you guys are gonna come down when that's the case. But I think that'll be fun. So yeah, it's just man, it's tough. It's tough being socially distant from everybody. Welcome back, Kat.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
You hit the red button.
Gee,
I'm
probably
kidding.
good.
She had to go get some candy.
Yeah. She had to go chew on some hard candy while we're recording. Anyway, Kat, I was just saying, once this is all over, you and Caleb have got to come down and game with us for a day, whether it's board games, miniatures games, kill team, at that time might be awesome. So we miss you guys.
Oh, that'd be so much fun. And I had to go and buy Dice Throne after hanging out with you.
Yeah.
And playing that at your house. I bought it to play at KubaCon.
It is so good.
Oh, yeah,
so
I haven't
good.
even opened it yet. I was gonna get it open at KubaCon, and now KubaCon
Well,
got canceled too.
They have it on what do they call it? Not the virtual tabletop. Whatever. I can't remember what it's called.
Really?
Whatever the tabletop one is. I'm drawing a blank now, and people are going to kill me for this. But yeah, the one you can get through Steam, which is Tabletop Simulator. That's it. Oh, it's driving me crazy.
Do they really?
Yeah, you can actually, and only one person has to own it, and we can play it. So if you have Tabletop Simulator, Kat, we can play.
Oh my gosh! Well, I have probably 150 games on Steam. I'm sure I can get.
It's all. I
Tabletop.
think it's all of like $9.99 to get Tabletop Simulator. So.
Oh my gosh, that'd be so much fun!
Super
Oh my
good
gosh,
time.
talking about Steam, are you ready for Baldur's Gate 3?
I didn't even know about it.
What?
I legit didn't know about it. Yeah, and I'm a huge D&D fan,
Okay.
so I will check.
Oh
that
my
out.
gosh!
Baldur's
Did
Gate
you ever play Baldur's Gate 1 too?
Oh yeah, I sure did.
Okay,
In fact, I
Baldur's
have
Gate
like
3 is coming out.
I have the enhanced edition on my iPad even.
Yes.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Yes, that is so rad. Well, go and check out Baldur's Gate 3 on Steam
Okay.
and look at the game and look at the videos and stuff. It's announced to come out this year.
Fantastic. Well, I've
Yeah.
since we're kind of going off topic at the moment, I actually picked up a PlayStation 4 because the PlayStation 5 is going to come out, and the PlayStation 4 like dropped in price significantly, and they had a bunch of. I have an Xbox because all my friends have Xboxes, but they have a bunch of exclusive titles for the PlayStation that I've never played and I always wanted to. So like I played through all 4 Uncharted games over the course of like 5 days. How come I'm not getting anything painted? I don't know.
I don't know.
That's rad.
But yeah, so at least I'm equipped to kill the time here.
What's that?
At least I'm equipped to kill the time here while I'm in the I almost called it the boiler room. Jeez, that's how fried I am. The Astronomicon. So
No, we just got to figure out a virtual way to play 40K.
yeah, some people are doing it on Tabletop Simulator, but I think it's really clunky, and to me, most of the fun of playing 40K is just the socialization of being across the table from the person and looking at the models and, the tactile piece of that is intrinsic to me enjoying it. I don't know. There's something about that. So anyway.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Well, listen, I'm excited about you guys doing online stuff, online classes and stuff. So I'm going to really, really see what's going on. What size are you thinking of limiting those to? Because you probably want to still get some kind of one-on-one time through Zoom.
Yeah, we're looking at a couple of different formats. And this is where we've got a group of friends that we do hangouts and stuff with, and I'm going to reach out to them and have them do a run through with us.
Cool.
But the Zoom gives us the capability of having up to 100 people present. And what we're thinking about doing, because Caleb really wants that interactive play, we're going to try it out and see how it feels if he has people asking questions while he's teaching.
Mhm.
And then if we should do it like that or do an not an open-ended, but like a Q&A session at the end of the workshop.
Yeah.
and allow for people to ask questions and show what they have going on their video at that point. So we're going to play with it both ways. We're looking at, maybe there's a way to sell 10 spots with video, do it so it's not an overwhelming amount of people, or we just limit the size of the class, and then everybody has the ability to do the interactive video.
Yeah.
So that's what we need to do, our test run through, and see which of those two ways work best, and then it should go live. So,
well, best of luck, man. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool. And we're looking at different formats too for the actual classes. If we're going to run, they will not be, and this needs to be kind of put out there, I think, and Caleb could probably speak more to it, because this is where he comes in and formatting the presentation. But whether or not we're going to do like an 8-hour class or do, a month of classes broken out over weekends, so people can take a 2-hour class and they still have access to the video afterwards, and they can take and work on that for a week and then come back. And there'll be paint-alongs, so we'll all be working on relatively the same projects. And then the other part of that with Caleb is having him do not just the paint-along part, but having access to helping people in chat, helping them while they're online. I'm kind of really excited about it. I think it's going to make a very fun, interactive experience, but it won't replace the same experience going to one of our workshops, because it'll be a lot less material.
And will people
if you're actually at a workshop,
will people who join this get access to your alumni program, which puts you into the Facebook alumni group, and you kind of share information there? See, that's fantastic too. That's worth its weight in gold right there.
Yeah, exactly. They'll become part of the CK Studio alumni.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, guys, go ahead, Caleb.
Sorry, I was just going to talk on the class just for a minute.
Yeah, please.
I'm definitely leaning more towards almost like a monthly class, to where it'll just be, a few hours once a week, and then you'll obviously be assigned homework that you'll work on through the week. So I think that will help with the building part of it. And then, of course, you'll be able to contact me online, and we can, if you have questions during the week and stuff like that. Sure. But I don't want it to be super time intensive where everybody is sitting there staring at a computer screen for 8 hours.
That's tough.
I think that would be brutal.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking leaning it that way. And then, like Kat said, it's definitely not going to be our weekenders. So if you're hoping to catch a weekender online, it's not going to happen.
Gotcha.
Those classes, the big part of those classes is the interchange between instructor and student.
Gotcha.
And we can't replace that.
Yeah,
so what we're going to do for these are these classes are going to be mainly made up of the classes that we were going to offer this year at most of the conventions.
Smart.
We have some awesome classes for Adepticon this year. I'm so bummed out about that.
There's always next year. There's always next year now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And we'll definitely be back. But I think we're going to kind of offer those classes as our online classes. We're going to have a basics airbrush class. It's going to be the convention getting started class. We're definitely going to, I've gotten so many requests for that. So we're definitely going to do that. And then we're going to develop some classes that are just strictly available online. We're not going to teach them anywhere else. We're not going to teach those in person or anything. They're going to be developed specifically for online for students like that. So it's going to be fun. I mean, there's so many ideas that I have of things that I want to do with it. That I think the sky's the limit on what we're going to be able to do.
Well, nice. All right, man. I think that's cool. I think it makes them, a little bit exclusive. So where would people find out about these classes when they become available? And then we'll go ahead and wrap up.
We'll be announcing them and posting them on the CK Studios Facebook page.
Okay.
So they can look up CK Space Studios on Facebook. There's going to be a million results because we have a class, we have a group out there for every class that we teach. But look for the studio page. If it doesn't come up that way, type in CK Studios, come paint with us. And that should bring up the page because that's the rest of the name.
Perfect.
Yeah, we'll be announcing there. That's also where Caleb's it's been really cool the way he's been doing the Twitch feed. He's been going ahead and letting it stream live to Facebook. So he's doing that once a week right now too. So all of the announcements for Twitch and for the online classes, plus all of our updated schedule changes as that evolves for our regular workshops. So will all be posted to the CK Studios page.
Very nice. Very nice. We'll also include a link to that page in our show notes. So thank you again, guys. I really appreciate you joining.
Thanks so much for having us, Carl. It's so good to talk to you again.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I'm so lonely. We will talk again soon.
Today.
We'll talk again soon.
All right. Take care.
All right. So that's it. You've come to the end of the much delayed episode 204 of the Independent Characters. Thank you guys for being so patient for us to get this out here. A few final thoughts, just real quick. Again, please do go take a look at Table War Charities. We're trying to close out that entire drawing and raffle, and it's I kid you not, you have a chance to win some amazing models there. At very little expense to you, and you're doing a great thing for kids, so, and their parents. So please do take a look at that. Justin, CK Studios, I know we just heard in the interview they're looking at doing some online courses and stuff a little bit different. Are you involved in that piece of it at all?
Yeah, we're trying to figure things out. So it's a brave new world.
Yeah,
but
I loved Caleb's take on it, that he wanted to do something different. Like there's a lot of things out there and he has to have his own spin on it. And that's exactly how I feel about things.
They can't be like weekenders. Like,
no.
There's no way we can give that. They're not going to replace the weekenders, but it's something that
I think they can enhance the weekenders too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I just feel bad. Like I had a client that couldn't make it to one of my classes and then he couldn't make it to the other one. He's like, dude, am I ever going to get in with you guys? I'm like, I don't have control over pandemics, man.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I wish I did. But yeah, we're just rolling with the flow and trying to make things work for everybody.
Cool. All right. Well, again, we have a Facebook group, we have a Facebook page, we have a Patreon. You can learn all about that stuff from our show notes. We did just release a Patreon episode a couple days ago because fortunately that's easier for me to schedule. It's just usually one other person or myself. Though next time I think I'm going to try to pull in one of you guys remotely too. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Ain't doing much.
Okay. And as I'm watching Josh edit the notes right here while we're going. Okay. So anyway, you guys got anything else you want to add before we close out the show?
No, I'm good.
The only last thing I would say is definitely check out CK Studios on Twitch because Caleb has been doing quite a few videos there, and hopefully I'll be able to do one or two.
Yeah, I'd love to see.
Well, so check out us on Twitch.
All right, Josh, you good?
I'm good.
All right. Well, then until next time, this is Carl.
This is Jody.
This is Justin.
And this is Josh.
We're coming to you from the Astronomicon, where everyone washes their hands.
You can all still be excellent to one another.
And Nurgle was fun for a minute, but it's time for some change.
And in the grim darkness of quarantine, dang, I really need to get some games played.
Amen, brother.
All right,
Amen.
guys. Well, thank you so much again for joining us. We will be back soon with another episode. I'm hoping within about a week or so, a week and a half. Talk to you soon. This episode of The Independent Characters is protected by the Creative Commons license. If you have further questions as to its use, you can find information on the front page at theindependentcharacters.com. This episode of The Independent Characters is protected by the Creative Commons license. If you have further questions as to its use, you can find information on the front page at theindependentcharacters.com.